to Hincapié, right on the halfway line here. Thinks about playing it forward, decides not to. Martinelli's frustrated. And Arsenal play across their own half to Mosquera, who's making a 6th Premier League start for Arsenal this season and has been very dependable so far when he's been called upon. We're midway through the first half, still the only goals in the Premier League this evening. Here at Brighton, Saka's deflected strike going through the legs of Verbruggen, and the 2nd-minute goal for Douglas Luiz, which has Aston Villa leading Chelsea 1-0, Fulham 0, West Ham 0, Manchester City 0, Nottingham Forest 0. Rice comes bouncing forward with the ball at his feet. Rob.
Yeah, Maverick has just had to drift. It's basically the right-back position to try and get involved with the play. He's just really struggling to get involved. He's the extra man. Brighton are basically ignoring him and saying, we're just going to hold our shape. You can drift where you want, and he's struggling to find that space and the angles to receive the pass. So at the moment, that's where Arsenal are really, despite leading, are struggling on the ball.
Verbruggen to Boscagli, pass up the middle of the pitch here is controlled by Rute. He's stumbling backwards into Gabriel there as he went to control it and went to ground. He's won the free kick, push and shove between Gabriel and Rute. Brighton took the free kick, it hit their own man. They think Gabriel wasn't 10 yards. That was because he was continuing the conversation with Rute, but I think the free kick actually hit Rute in the back, and that's why Arsenal are able to build an attack. That's a short pass from Rice, didn't have enough on it to find Martinelli, and the ball is back with Rice on the halfway line.
Yeah, strange, wasn't it? I think they were trying to just hit Gabriel with the ball. It wasn't going to go anywhere and managed to miss him. But in that, Arsenal retrieve the ball and again give it away with a slow pass, with a pass that wasn't crisp. And when you're approaching that final third, you've got to have it so on point, and it isn't.
Mosquera. Arsenal playing from right to left here at the Amex Stadium in the first half. Red shirts, white sleeves, white shorts. Timbers tripped. As it stands, leading 1-0. Table as it stands has them 7 points clear of their closest challengers, Manchester City. John Bennett watching them against Nottingham Forest.
Manchester City 0, Nottingham Forest 0. Big chance for Forest. Space to run into for Nicholas Dominguez. Picked up Gibbs White, tight angle straight at the goalkeeper. Man City 0, Nottingham Forest 0.
So we're waiting for Arsenal to take a free kick. What have you spotted down on the touchline there, Rob? Mikel Arteta in...
Herzl having their first little flash point. We were wondering whether that might kick off after Herzl's comments yesterday, but that's the first moment where he's pointing the finger.
Arsenal's discipline on the field has been impeccable this season. It has cost them down the years in the Premier League. They've really tightened it up this season. The one person who's in danger of a suspension if he gets a yellow card tonight is Mikel Arteta, because he's on 2 yellow cards. But the comparison we were drawing with Chelsea, who had another man sent off at the Emirates Stadium on Sunday, with Arsenal, Arsenal really have improved that vastly this season. They've taken their free kick. The game has lost a little bit of rhythm. Arsenal still leading 1-0 from the early Saka goal. It came in the 9th minute. Timbers playing the ball back to Raya. Raya is 10 yards outside his penalty area. Long arcing pass left to right. Saka chases, headed away by Kadioglu. Throw in for Arsenal. Taken quickly. Gyökeres brings it down. Side puts a pass, looks for Martinelli. It doesn't reach him. Vifa is there. And Vifa's going to play this down the right, and Gomez is expecting that. And Gomez wants to take on Hincapié. Hincapié is winning that all day long and ships the ball back to his keeper.
Yeah, that wasn't a contest, was it? Hincapié really good. But that free kick before, to go back to it, Declan Rice standing on the ball, wonderful delivery. We've seen it all before, 40 yards out. Within 2 passes, they're back with David Raya. It's something that isn't quite there at the minute, whether it's under instruction to kill the game, you 1-0 up, don't go and attack, I don't know, but after all that chat of attack and the set pieces, it's not been there.
Right, here come Arsenal, sweeping move down the right. Timber receives it from Mosquera. Brighton trying to quickly get back into defensive positions. 27 minutes gone in the first half. You're listening on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Manchester City, Nottingham Forest over on Sports Extra 0-0. Martinelli tries to take it past Gomez. Clumsy challenge from Gomez. Free kick for Arsenal. Don't think it'll be a yellow card, but Arsenal will love where the free kick is, because it's 7-8 yards in from the left-hand touchline level with the penalty spot. They can cause absolute mayhem from here.
Well, that was a tackle from someone who didn't really want to defend, and I'm not sure if he's going to keep doing that. Martinelli's just going to keep on taking him on, just get the ball to him, because much like it was against Hincapié, that was a mismatch. Gomez just not wanting to take a backward step, rather bring him down, regardless of the threat that Arsenal obviously hold. I don't think this is going to be back with David Raya within 2 passes.
Declan Rice provided the assist from the corner for the winner, Julian Timber's winner against Chelsea on Sunday. Puts his left hand through those flowing locks. Stands with the left foot in front of the right, like a statue here, waits for the whistle to blow. Martinelli's close to him on the edge of the area. Rice curls it in and over the crossbar. Rare poor delivery from Declan Rice, because no one could get ahead on that, and it was never testing Verbruggen.
Yeah, you could see what he was doing, though. Everyone's trying to get into the line of Verbruggen and then just fire it over the heads at the keeper, and maybe another nick in there, but you're going to do well to head that when it's 12 feet in the air.
Rob Green, former England goalkeeper, with us here at the Amex Stadium. I saw people making the point after the game at the weekend, Rob, in terms of the World Cup coming this summer. Reece James, corner delivery. Declan Rice, corner delivery. Saka, corner delivery. England will be dangerous on the set pieces.
Yeah, and FIFA will change the rules for corners.
Ball is headed forward to the halfway line. Great leap from Saka, flicks it on, couldn't find Gyökeres. Gyökeres hasn't really been in the game, might get a chance now, has to get himself back on side, accidentally collided with Kadioglu there. Kadioglu goes down as the pass was played, and that will be a free kick to Brighton. Half an hour played. Brighton 0, Arsenal 1, Villa 1, Chelsea 0, Manchester City 0, Nottingham Forest 0, Fulham 0, West Ham 0.
I think both managers will be happy. Arteta will say, well, we're winning, we don't mind, and Arteta will say, well, we're playing actually some really good football and looking proactive, and players have got our answers.
Free kick given for Brighton here, just inside the Arsenal half. That was Mosquera on Ruter, and that is why the Brighton players are complaining, because he's already on a yellow card. Now then, big news comes from the Etihad Stadium. There's been a goal. John Bennett.
Breakthrough for Manchester City. Great work from Ryan Cherki. Quick feet on the right-hand side. Crossed it into Antoine Semenyo. Fine finish on the volley. Manchester City 1, Nottingham Forest 0.
Antoine Semenyo does it again. Was having a brilliant season for Bournemouth. Has just picked up and flown into his career at Manchester City. So that will keep the gap at 5 points this evening if both Arsenal and Manchester City win. Cross comes into that Arsenal box. Awkward. Gabriel dealt with that well. Had to stoop, hit his body, heads it away. Arsenal trying to get it clear with Rice now. Ball with the left foot on the half volley. Chased by Martinelli here. Eventually gives up the ghost because Vifa is there and gets it back to Verbruggen.
Yeah, really good from Vifa. And he's recognised that Martinelli was in front of him. Even when they're still in the Arsenal half, and he was through on goal. So he actually pulled him back. He pulled him back before even Declan Rice had played the ball. So then he got the upper hand and then played the ball. So cute play, should we say, from Vifa.
Right, who's that that's gone down for Arsenal? Brighton have actually won the free kick.
Zubamendi.
And Zubamendi is down. I think he made the challenge. So is this one of those where he knows he's the guilty party? So he's just... I'm not saying making out that he's been hurt. He may have been hurt in the challenge as well. He comes through the back of Ruter. Ruter's been doing a good job, actually, for Brighton so far, holding the ball up in that position.
Yeah, he comes very deep, and it's not uncommon. He did it at Leeds. His favourite role is to step into that sort of inside left role to get it to feet and wanting to turn, and it actually gives the opportunity for other players to run in behind, and you're not going to have that fight with Mosquera and Gabriel where you're up against them. It's more coming into your feet, so it kind of suits him in that way. A bit like Igor Thiago, not such a big target man.
That's Rob Green here at the Amex. Bukayo Saka is last over to join the Arsenal team huddle. They're taking instructions from Mikel Arteta, refreshment on board as well. Fabian Hürzeler has 4 or 5 of his Brighton players around him. Martin Zubimendi continues to receive treatment. Let's get around the grounds while we wait for this game to get back underway. So here it's Brighton 0, Arsenal 1. What about Fulham West Ham? John Southall.
It's still Fulham 0, West Ham 0. Jared Bowen on the right of the area smashed a shot horribly wide, which is unlike him. Had a VAR check as well for an Iwobi handball, but clearly came off his shoulder. Fulham 0, West Ham 0.
Villa Park next. Villa Chelsea being watched by Julia Bold.
Aston Villa 1, Chelsea 0. Both sides had a chance to score. Cole Palmer from the edge of the D. Martinez had to jump left to push it wide. Ollie Watkins had a shot to go 2 up. That's been punched away by Jurgensen. Still Aston Villa 1, Chelsea 0.
Underway at Pittodrie in the Scottish Premiership. So still Celtic starting this evening. Game in hand on Hearts at the top. 8 points behind the leaders. Away to Aberdeen. Let's get to Pittodrie.
Yeah, 4 minutes gone. Aberdeen 0, Celtic 0. One change to Celtic's lineup. Just late on, Dane Murray got an injury in the warm-up, so Benjamin Arthur on loan from Brentford makes his first start for Celtic. 0-0 at Pittodrie.
Ball across the halfway line to Van Hecker. We're back underway. Zubimendi is waiting to get back on the field. Next break in play. We'll take you back to Manchester City. Just to remind you, Semenyo has scored, though. Manchester City 1, Nottingham Forest 0. Here's Matoma outside of his right foot. Plays it here to Van Hecker. Van Hecker, middle of the Arsenal half, gives it back to Boscagli. Boscagli to Van Hecker. Van Hecker's going to get this cross into the Arsenal box, headed wide by Hinshelwood, I think, who was on the penalty spot there. It goes behind for the Arsenal goal kick. Back to Aberdeen, Kenny Crawford.
5 minutes gone, Aberdeen 0, Celtic 1. Corner came in and there was Kieran Tierney inside the 6-yard box. His second goal in 2 games to make it Aberdeen 0, Celtic 1.
Thank you, Kenny. 11 minutes remaining in the first half here. So Celtic win would take them to 58. They'd be 5 points behind Hearts. They'd be a point above Rangers. They would have played the same games as those two. Motherwell will have the game in hand. Chris Sutton keeps telling me Motherwell are playing the best football in Britain at the moment, apparently, Rob. So
I believe him.
They must, well, so do I. Chris Sutton on the FPL pod from BBC Sport. I'll tell you about that in a second. Hincapié moves in and takes the ball away from Vifa. Was called vanilla, was described as vanilla. I've never heard Chris Sutton described as vanilla, but our guest Gianni Bottice, who is an FPL expert, said Chris Sutton's fantasy football team was a bit vanilla.
Yeah, tactically he's always been a bit dull, hasn't he?
Latest FPL pod from BBC Sport. If you're into your fantasy football, is there on the BBC Sounds app. And I know Mark Chapman loves his commentator's view. That is there for you every Friday as well. John Hunt is going to be our guest on the podcast this week ahead of the Cheltenham Festival. Next week, David Raya with the goal kick. 10 minutes remaining in the first half. Arsenal leading 1-0. Ruter chests the ball down inside the Arsenal half and then slices it away. Gross is going to try and keep it in play. He has done so. So Arsenal still have some defending to do. Gross plays it back here to Kadioglu. Kadioglu to Ruter. Back to goal again. This time he's tackled. Arsenal are going to go long and quickly over the top towards Gyökeres. The ball bounces in front of him. He's able to control it. Eze comes steaming forward. Van Hecker makes the challenge. That'll run to Kadioglu. Keeps it in play wide on the left and plays it back to Boscagli. Into the feet of Gross here. Kadioglu's in space on the left and Brighton could turn it into a counter. Van Hecker sees the opportunity, goes racing forward towards the halfway line. We'll take you to Villa Park in a second. There's been another goal in that game, but here Brighton 0, Arsenal 1, and the Brighton attack continues. Gomez short to Vifa. Vifa up towards Ruter, round the corner here to Hinshelwood inside the penalty area, passes block, comes back to Ruter, wide to Gomez, cross comes in, Raya should get this at the far post, and does. Julia Bold at Villa Park.
It's Aston Villa 1, Chelsea 1, João Pedro close range to put it beyond Demi Martinez. It's Aston Villa 1, Chelsea 1.
Right, David Raya's been knocked over, having made the catch. He was about to try and release the ball. Mitoma has put a right arm across his chest. He's gone down, and the Brighton fans didn't like the reaction.
Yeah, Mitoma, he's a strong boy, isn't he? He must have absolutely walloped him there because he went down, and that is a different form of time wasting, isn't it? He knows Mitoma can't do it. He could have easily just carried on, but I'll tell you what, we're 8 minutes from half time. It kills a minute. Let's just have a sit down for a second.
in terms of the title race. The top two both winning. Manchester City at home against Nottingham Forest. Semenyo scored. Saka with the early goal here at Brighton. Saka's putting pressure on Kadioglu. That has to be a foul in the end. Wrestling him to the floor inside the Brighton penalty area. So that will be a free kick to Brighton. Closing stages of the first half. Still Brighton 0, Arsenal 1.
Yeah, it's been bright, hasn't it? It's been entertaining. I think Arsenal have got a lot of questions attacking-wise that you're looking at saying, really, Gyökeres had 1 or 2 touches and he had a moment there where he was in a 1v1 and didn't take advantage of it. Saka's looked the most likely, apart from the obvious score in the goal, out on that right-hand side, supported by Timber, but it's been far from fluent, and it's not for the first time this season we've said that about from Arsenal.
Brighton on the ball inside their own half. Van Hecke creeps across the halfway line, plays it low down the inside right channel. Ruter's tackled. Gyökeres touch back to Martinelli. Martinelli builds up ahead of steam. Van Hecke slides in, wins the tackle. Hincapié back to Rice. Suddenly under pressure here, surrounded by Brighton players. Baleba made the tackle. Ruter getting away from Hincapié, slides in. Ruter gets the pass away. Mitoma shoots. Rice slides in and makes the block. Fabulous defending from Arsenal. Eza goes down under pressure from Baleba. Arsenal get the free kick, and the frustration builds from the Brighton fans all around us.
Brilliant from Declan Rice. Loses the ball on the touchline, doesn't realise he's got a player behind him. Hincapié does really well just to hold it up, but then the reaction from the touchline to get back to the D to make the vital block on Mitoma, fantastic. I'm not sure what he runs on, but he must be running on fumes now, Declan Rice.
Right. Referee Chris Kavanagh is telling Arsenal to hurry it up. It's their free kick, and it was one of those where they gave it a bit of sort of after you, Claude. Who's taking this? Is it you, David Raya? Is it me? And Chris Kavanagh's seen enough there. So David Raya hits it long downfield. Gomez on the turn tries to clear. Hincapié blocks. Throw in for Brighton. Brighton 0, Arsenal 1. Arsenal trying to win this first Premier League title since the Invincibles of 2004. If both win tonight, Arsenal and Manchester City, they're both leading, then Arsenal will maintain a 5-point lead. Manchester City will have the game in hand. Arsenal will have 8 games to go. Next for them is FA Cup away to Mansfield at lunchtime on Saturday, and then away to Leverkusen in the Champions League next week. Timber launches himself to make a tackle on the right-hand touchline. Mosquera clears, blocked by Kadioglu, goes all the way back downfield into the right-back position. And Arsenal, surprise, surprise, in no hurry to take the throw-in. They lead 1-0.
In the Premier League table, I mean, they were 7 points behind 7th place Brentford with 10 games left. I mean, the form here is normally very, very good. 13th in the Premier League, but actually they're 12th in the home form table, which is very, very surprising. Before the start of this round of games, 12th in the home form table for a club like this who prides itself on home form. They want to be doing better in both tables.
They embark on an incredible run of fixtures, Newcastle, tonight against Manchester United, then Manchester City in the FA Cup, Barcelona in the Champions League, Chelsea away in the Premier League, the second leg against Barcelona, and then Sunderland. It is a huge few weeks coming up for Newcastle United. The two sets of players in front of us in their respective huddles, Manchester United to our left, Newcastle to our right. So a good time to run you through the 2 11s, and there are interesting changes for Newcastle. The headline change is in goal, where Nick Pope is dropped to the bench and Aaron Ramsdale comes in for him. Pope, who made that high-profile error here against Everton on Saturday, so Ramsdale comes in for him. In front of Ramsdale, Trippier, Thiaw, Byrne and Hall, Ramsey and Tonali, with Elanga, Barnes, who's in for the ill Voltemada, Joel Linton and Gordon playing up front. And for Manchester United, Mazraoui replaces Dalot at right-back. That's their only change from victory over Crystal Palace. Lamon's the goalkeeper, Mazraoui, Yoro, Maguire and Shaw, Casemiro and Mainu, and Burmo, Fernandes, Cunha and the in-form Šeško. We are ready on 5 Sports Extra 3 on the BBC Sounds app. Newcastle United against Manchester United. It is a fixture that always means something. There is always that little bit of extra spice in this game, and we hope for goals and we hope for a really entertaining watch. And we are underway with Manchester United kicking from left to right as we watch from the Milburn stand, so that's away from the Leazes end where their fans are housed, way up high towards the Gallagher to our right in their home kit, the red shirts, white shorts and white socks, and Newcastle defending the Gallagher to our right in their black and white with the black shorts and the black socks, and it is Newcastle building the first attack of the game. Hall over halfway finds Barnes on this near side, the left, running at Mazraoui, making a rare start for Manchester United. Tonali in the heart of the Newcastle midfield, drills a fine-looking pass out to Trippier on the right. First touch good to control, Shaw comes out to meet him. Newcastle looking good on this right-hand side, ball into the penalty area, Tonali takes over. His counterpart in a number 8 shirt, Fernandez, comes out to meet him. Trippier is shrugged off the ball legally by Shaw, despite the protestations from the Newcastle United fans, and it's Manchester United that can get their first feel of the football.
You can see from Newcastle's point of view the lack of form and the lack of good performances recently. The intent immediately from the start, very early on in this game, started on the front foot, looking to play direct, looking to close Manchester United down and play with a high tempo and use the home crowd here, get the crowd on the side, get the crowd behind them early and put some pressure on the Manchester United side, who are in superb form at the moment. I mean, if Manchester United would have come here, 6 weeks ago, it would have been a very different story. What Michael Carrick's done with them has been nothing short of incredible from where they were.
Šeško closes down Thiaw, Newcastle throw, right back position. Yeah, his work has been remarkable. We can see him. We're not too far away from the two managers, the two head coaches here. We watch from a very low position in the Milburn stand. So Michael Carrick, and at the moment Jason Tindall, Eddie Howe's trusted assistant, on the edge of their technical areas. Carrick, arms behind his back. Newcastle born and bred, Newcastle fan born just down the road in Wallsend. So this will mean a lot coming back to St James's Park. He's watching his Manchester United side having to defend at the moment. Here's Gordon on the edge of the Manchester United penalty area. Square to Joe Linton, centrally positioned. Left-hand side of the box now. Barnes running at Mazraoui, who did enough to close down the initial cross. Hall picks up the pieces. Joel Linton, the imposing Joel Linton, to the very tidy Tonali, who is running down a bit of a cul-de-sac there. There was no one on the left-hand side, so he sensibly plays it back to Byrne, who switches the play to Trippier, and his first touch is instant to find Ramsey via Elanga, and Newcastle are starting very confidently here. 0-0 in the early stages at St James's Park with Manchester United. Hall to Barnes, that was short from Hall, but Mazraoui's clearance isn't great. Hall, left-hand side, dink to the back post, over Gordon. Trippier arrives, still alive for Newcastle, lifted to the back post, it hits the post. Hall on the rebound, volleys over the crossbar. First real opportunity for Newcastle United. The cross looked harmless, but it hits the back post, and then Hall volleys over the top. Still 0-0.
Yeah, that's twice from Newcastle. Lewis Hall on this left-hand side first. He looks to dink the ball into the 6-yard box. It eludes everybody. It looks like there's no danger whatsoever. Trippier arriving late. He looks to return the favour, and in turn on the half volley, he just lifts a ball over Lamans, and it's dropping towards the far post. It certainly wasn't meant as a shot, and it scrapes down the front of the post, and thankfully for Manchester United, it runs away harmlessly wide, and Mazraoui manages to get it away. But a really good start from Newcastle.
Yoro and Lamans were awfully cool about that, because it looked like they were quite happily shepherding it wide, and it hits the full face of the post as well. It didn't scrape off the side. That was very, very close to the opening goal of the evening here at St James's Park. Nearly 4 minutes played. Newcastle 0, Manchester United 0, but a very front-footed, positive start from the home side, who general consensus, Paul, has been that the performances have not been too bad here at St James's Park. They're playing well enough to win games. They've just been let down by costly errors, and it's an error that's led to the change in goal with Ramsdale replacing Nick Pope. He got a touch of the ball there, Ramsdale, to move it quickly out of danger.
I think he'd probably have wanted to play more football when he came here, Aaron Ramsdale, whether that was the conversation that you had with Eddie Howe before he made the move. But actually Nick Pope came out to the side and he got his place back in. It's taken Ramsdale a while to once again win his place.
Elanga, the former Manchester United player, to Gordon. Little give and go was the plan with Ramsey, but that breaks down, and Fernandez plays it errantly to where he thought Mbermo was lurking, but there was nobody there, hence the jeers from the Newcastle fans. And Newcastle can pick up possession once again with the long-haired Tonali, and out to Trippier, far side the right, as Newcastle go from right to left. Trippier, stationary. Gordon makes the dart inside right channel, gets there in front of Maguire, low ball in, no one at the front post. Lamans can collapse, and Michael Carrick in front of us just has two hands out, palms down, to say, let's just calm down and settle here, because we've been second best.
Yeah, he's trying to get his team out as well, because they're very deep. for allowing Newcastle possession. You're not going to come here and dominate the possession, but actually they're a team now under Michael Carrick that will sit in a defensive shape, and they're comfortable in that. But at the moment, what are we, just over 5 minutes into the game, they've struggled to get any type of foothold. Newcastle have been really strong, but they're not panicking, Manchester United. You can see from Carrick's demeanour, he's quite happy with his team. They're sat in this defensive shape. That's why you said about that errant pass from Bruno Fernandes to Mbeumo. Mbeumo wasn't there because they were so deep. Everyone to a man, even Šeško, was inside the defensive third for Manchester United.
Half-time is beginning to filter through from the other Premier League games this evening. Manchester City lead at home to Nottingham Forest by a 1-0. Antoine Semenyo has scored another goal for Pep Guardiola's side. Brighton 0, Arsenal 1 is a half-time score. Bukayo Saka with the only goal at the Amex. That's on 5 Live. Sports Extra for Manchester City, Nottingham Forest. Newcastle lose their way. Fernandes to Cunha on the edge. Fires over the crossbar. And that's a good chance for a player of Matheus Cunha's calibre and quality. Manchester United win it on the edge of the penalty area. It was sloppy from Newcastle. Trippier dispossessed. The ball eventually falls to Cunha, who is in a load of space on the edge of the box. And he got that horribly wrong and fires it over the bar. That's
first chance of the game for Manchester United, and it really was a good chance. A player of Cunha's quality in that type of area, you'd have expected him to have at least tested Aaron Ramsdale. Sloppy play by Newcastle inside their own defensive third on the right-hand side. Kieran Trippier loses possession. Fernandes is quickly onto the ball. Infield to Cunha, and he's 20-25 yards out on the angle on his right foot. Blazes it harmlessly high and wide. He's on the ball again. Cunha making progress far side the left. Just has to check back inside because the options in front of him weren't great. Casemiro on halfway, and now Harry Maguire can just calm things down for the red shirts of Manchester United. Yoro back to Maguire, very deep inside the Manchester United half. Shaw's on that far side the left, and Manchester United, perhaps wisely, are just keeping their foot on the ball and looking to really get a feel of the ball in this game so far. With 7 minutes played, they haven't seen much of it, albeit they have created the best chance of the game. I say created, it was gifted to them by Newcastle. 29 errors have led to Premier League shots against them this season. Only Spurs have made more, and that's just symptomatic really of the problems that Newcastle have endured this season, and especially in the last few weeks. So many of those errors have been costly, and it's those sort of areas they need to cut out if they are to improve their Premier League form. Casemiro and Šeško exchange passes in the centre of the Manchester United midfield. Newcastle win that back successfully, and all the way back to Ramsdale, who's all in blue, clears downfield, out of play for a Manchester United throw. 0-0. Looking at this Newcastle formation, once again it's Anthony Gordon who's playing as that position that we like to call the out-and-out number 9. He's had a lot of criticism in recent weeks from Newcastle fans for performances, lack of conversion chances that he's created, and it's obviously interesting with Eddie Howe's choice with leaving Visser on the bench. Lovely touch, Gordon. Joe Linton fires it out to Barnes, left of the penalty area, running at Mazraoui, who's backtracking. Barnes, give and go with Elanga. Barnes goes for goal, blocked at source by Casemiro, who'd followed him all the way, and Manchester United via Mbeumo should be able to clear, although that's a little cute, and then Elanga barges Mazraoui off the ball. That's one of those where Mazraoui knew what was coming, and he made sure he hit the deck the moment he felt contact from Elanga, who probably, on reflection, was a little too forceful there. But it's a silly challenge from Elanga. It's a really silly challenge. It's in an area of the pitch where Mazraoui's facing his own goal. He was the last one to touch it. It's running out for a corner. Elanga just needs to put the pressure on him, let him know that he's there. He doesn't need to make contact. Gives away an absolutely needless foul and gives Manchester United a way out. So frustrating from a point of view when you watch the game. Just stay on your feet, keep him in that area, he's going nowhere. 55 appearances for Manchester United and 4 goals for Anthony Elanga before making the move to Nottingham Forest, where he thrived, and now he's here at St James's Park, albeit maybe hasn't hit the heights that both he and Newcastle were hoping for. And you can say the same about a few of Newcastle's signings this season, that the main protagonist in that, Paul, is actually on the front of the Newcastle United programme this evening. Nick Voltemade, who is ill tonight, that's why he's not playing, but he seems to have taken the majority of the criticism that has come Newcastle's way. A lot has gone through Nick Voltemade and his lack of goals this season. Yeah, and I think in recent weeks he's looked a player that's devoid of confidence as well. I think the last time I saw him here, he kind of played in a number 10 position, and he looked completely lost in the formation. He had a really good start to his Newcastle career. And it's difficult as a player. I've been there myself when you're not playing very well, but you're playing in a team that's not playing very well. It's hard to get your own confidence and performance levels up when the players around you are not playing well. But he and Anthony Gordon have been 2 of the scapegoats for Newcastle.
Casemiro turns on halfway. Mainu not said his name too much, and he wins a free kick there. Ramsey was snapping at his heels. Manchester United get on with this quickly. Over halfway, we can see the shadows of the players alongside, floodlights shining brightly down at St James's Park. Cunha, nice feet away from Trippier, left of the box, low ball across. Šeško leaves it, was too far in front of him, and Mbeumo was in no real place and position to capitalise on that. Newcastle scramble away, but Mazraoui will pick up the loose ball near side the right, couple of yards in from the touchline. The bearded Mbeumo, and now Casemiro on halfway again. Manchester United just beginning to grow in confidence, although Casemiro's rather loose pass down the inside right channel to no one in particular, and Newcastle have this throw.
That's more joy for Manchester United down the left-hand side. Matheus Cunha is again, gets the wrong side of Kieran Trippier and actually plays a really good ball across the box, right across the 6-yard box, but they were caught on the heels, Šeško and Mbeumo, and Mbeumo wasn't even in the box. That was an opportunity for Manchester United if they'd have timed the runs.
Chelsea have a 2-1 lead at Aston Villa. João Pedro has scored both of Chelsea's goals, the second in the 51st minute of the first half, so plenty of stoppage time at Villa Park, and Chelsea have the lead after Douglas Luiz had given Villa an early advantage. So Chelsea 2-1 up at Villa Park, Manchester City 1, Nottingham Forest 0, Brighton 0, Arsenal 1, and the other game Fulham 0, West Ham 0. All of those 7:30 kickoffs, so all of those now at half-time, and all available for you mostly via the BBC Sounds app, with the Fulham West Ham game available on the BBC Sport website and app. Newcastle have a throw, and of course it'll be a long throw, which is very much in vogue this season, although Hall fools everyone and goes short. Tonali was in space on the edge of the box, he floats it to the back post, Gordon was there, so too was Shaw. The volley hit goalwards by Elanga was well hit, but a couple of yards wide. Lamans wasn't too fussed with that, but another half chance for Newcastle. And
that's well worked from Newcastle. Short throw in into Tonali. The Manchester United defence, they're all lined up inside the 18-yard box, waiting for the long throw. Ball out to Tonali. It's a good ball in the box from Tonali. It's an equally good defensive header from Lenny Yoro. He clears the lines, but Anthony Elanga is on his own at the edge of the box. Doesn't catch it as well as he'd like to. Full on the volley, but it goes wide of the left-hand post.
The Newcastle high press prevents Seny Lamans playing short, which is what he wanted to do, and in the end it goes long, and there's no one there for Manchester United to capitalise, so it's out of play for a Newcastle throw in their right back position that Kieran Trippier stands over. Very few, if any, empty seats here at St James's Park, sold out most weeks, but with Manchester United in town, eagerly anticipated, and a good noise being generated here. You do wonder if Manchester United were to get the first goal, what it would do to the atmosphere, given the run that Newcastle have been on. Lovely turn, Joel Linton. He sent Fernandes and Šeško completely the wrong way, and now he receives it from Hall, who finds Tonali, left-hand side of the box. Joel Linton, first touch, not quite as strong as it needed to be, but it's loose from Manchester United. Barnes! Wide. Oh, only just wide as well from Harvey Barnes. Newcastle continued to create, and Barnes found himself in space just inside the box, went for the right-footed bender into the back post. He just set it a little too far wide, and it does drift wide. 0-0 still.
And listen to that, what it does to the noise inside St James's Park. That looks like the closest that Newcastle have come. It's Joe Linton is at the heart of the move, works the ball really well down the left-hand side, and he wins it back in the 18-yard box. Comes out to Barnes, who just opens himself up, goes across the goalkeeper. Goalkeeper doesn't move, he's beaten if it creeps inside the post. It's a good chance for Harvey Barnes, should hit the target. 12 goals this season for Harvey Barnes. He's been Newcastle's most used player this campaign. Has cropped up with lots of important goals. Gordon now, pocket of space, right-hand side. Joel Linton is in the middle of the half, sweeps it first time to Barnes again with the long sleeves, running at Mazraoui. Hall on the overlap, chip to the back post. That's Lamans all day long. And we know from recent exploits that Seny Lamans has no problems with balls into his penalty area, albeit he's dealt with much more complicated ones than that. Yeah, they don't have the presence tonight, Newcastle, with Anthony Gordon playing up front, Elanga on the wide, Harvey Barnes on the wide, Hall there lifting the ball into the box. When you look at the presence that Newcastle have, they don't have it unless Joe Linton gets himself in there for high balls into the box like that. It'll be so easy for Harry Maguire, Lamans and Yoro to deal with. Twice Newcastle now, they've had really good opportunities to put the ball into the box. One they nearly scored because it hit the post, but other than that, the first contact has always been a Manchester United contact.
The voice of former England international Paul Robinson with us on 5 Sports Extra 3. via the BBC Sounds app. We've just ticked over 15 minutes on Tyneside. Newcastle 0, Manchester United 0, but it's been a lively, energetic start, just as we thought it might be. Always tends to be drama and goals when these two sides meet. Newcastle winning 4-1 here last season when these two sides met last campaign, but as Paul alluded to, both sides in very different spaces back then. Harvey Barnes got a couple of goals that day, with Manchester United creaking along under Ruben Amorim, but under Michael Carrick they've found some of their flair once again that we've associated with Manchester United over the years. Here's Mazraoui just inside the Newcastle half, right-hand side.
I think we talk a lot about Michael Carrick and what he's done without underestimating the impact of what Steve Holland's done as well behind the scenes. I think the tactical approach and the training ground, I know Michael's a very hands-on coach as well, but Steve Holland coming in and as part of that coaching staff, I think was a really shrewd move.
Mazraoui, dangerous ball, lovely touch. Cunha, Fernandes was racing into the penalty area. Luckily for Newcastle, Byrne was in the way. Had he not been, Fernandes was through on goal. Maguire with a very industrial challenge on Gordon. He went straight through the back of his England teammate and then looks across to the fourth official to say what was wrong with that, but free kick has been given to Newcastle on the halfway line.
I knew exactly what your choice of language was going to be there. When you said Harry Maguire, that was a very, and then you paused for a second, I thought, industrial? You went, yeah. It was very clumsy from the Manchester United centre-half, wasn't it? Straight through the back of Anthony Gordon and a needless free kick.
We've been working too much together, that's a problem when you start finishing my sentences. Free kick Newcastle, just inside their own half. It is still 0-0. Ramsdale is the only player inside his own half with his short sleeve. Were you a short sleeve goalkeeper or were you long? You were long sleeves, weren't you?
Newcastle in March, absolutely. Long sleeves.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Cunha heads away after Shaw got his head to the initial free kick, and because he's clutching the left of his head, now he's indicating there was an elbow. Dan Byrne is the guilty party here. Now there is a swing of the left elbow into Shaw's left ear, and that is what he is very unhappy about.
This will be interesting. VAR will be looking at this. There's without a doubt, there's a movement of Dan Byrne's left arm. Luke Shaw, as we know, there is a size difference between him and Dan Byrne. Dan Byrne's kind of wriggling and wrestling to get him off him. And I think it's in the wrestling movement and the wriggling trying to get him away. He's accidentally caught him. I don't think he's actually gone to elbow him in the face, because Dan Byrne's facing his own goal. He's probably got no idea which Manchester United player it is that's behind him. And in the movement of the giant centre-half, he's kind of caught Luke Shaw. Definite elbow to the face, but I'm not so sure the intent was there.
That's what I'm sure Paul Tierney down at Stockley Park tonight's VAR will be looking at, and by the expression of it, everyone's face, we're going to get on with it. So he must have decided there was no real need.
Well, both managers in turn have been down to see the fourth official. Michael Carrick and his coaching staff first to ask, and then Eddie Howe, and both seem to have gone away satisfied with the description they were given.
Which makes a nice change, doesn't it? That doesn't always happen.
We've not had any problem with VAR and contact from corners and aerial balls, have we, recently?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I tell you, I was at that Leeds game last night, and how Leeds United didn't get a penalty, I've got no idea.
Well, it gives us something to talk about, if nothing else, as Tonali scampers down the inside left channel. Smooth pass into Gordon's feet. Tonali gets it back from Gordon. And now Joel Linton with his peroxide blonde flash in his hair. Now Trippier, far side the right, brings Elanga into the game. This is good from Newcastle again. Elanga's cross looks too deep on first viewing, but Barnes makes something of it, albeit he had to stretch to get anything on his header. Tonali on the volley on the edge of the penalty area, flashes wide. That's a couple of those opportunities Newcastle have fashioned, and they've come really from Manchester United's poor clearances, and there was another example there.
He's got a super technique, Tonali, and it's a ball that he didn't really have any right to try and have a shot. It's a bouncing ball that's going across his body, and the way that he angles his shoulder just allows it to drop across his body onto his right foot, drags it wide of the near post, but it's a really good technique.
Such an important cog in this Newcastle team, Sandro Tonali. Big money move that he made from Italy to Newcastle. He's the only player to feature in every Premier League game this season. Plays the game with such effortless energy, doesn't he, Tonali? Such a graceful looking player. He's on the ball again here, kills the ball stone dead. Joel Linton has lots of space actually in the middle of the half and plays it slightly behind Trippier, but no harm done. Trippier can collect, heads into Manchester United territory. There's no Great pace to this Newcastle United attack that's still in its early stages, very close to the halfway line. Tonali, that is behind Hall, and he will do well to keep this in play. And in fact, Mbeumo gives him a little nudge, and that's fairly needless as well from Brian Mbeumo, because I'm not sure Hall was getting there, and even if he wasn't doing a great deal with it. And Mbeumo gave him a shove. Hall goes down. Newcastle free kick.
Pointless again. A free kick given away when he would have had possession from a throw-in. There was absolutely no way that Lewis Hall was keeping that ball in, and if he was, the best thing he could have probably done was swing it towards his own goalkeeper in hope it didn't go out for a corner. Brian Mbeumo gave away a foul right in front of the Newcastle dugout for no reason.
Newcastle will certainly take it as Ramsdale has it in the penalty area. Jacob Ramsey to Malik Thiaw, and Newcastle making progress on that far side, the right again. They've had a lot of joy on that right side. Maguire and Lamans need to make sure their communication is right here, and it was, with both converging on the same ball, but the goalkeeper all in yellow with a loud call, collapses on the ball and gets Manchester United moving forward again. In good form, but not with a good record here at St James's Park, losing their last 3. Their last victory here was some 6 years ago. 2020 was the last time they beat Newcastle United at St James's Park. Joe Linton's little ball forward, that's too far ahead of Gordon, and easy for Senny Lamans to claim again. And 0-0 here, but they certainly know they're in a game. Newcastle have edged it, but as we've seen from Manchester United this season, especially under Michael Carrick, we saw that on Sunday against Crystal Palace, where they were behind until the sending off, and then they did take control of the game. The games have been tight that Manchester United have won, but more often than not they've been edging them.
And away from home as well, they know how to do it. Even with Ruben Amorim in charge, you look at their record away from home, they've still only lost 3 games away from home this season, Manchester United. Arsenal can better that with only 2. I think when you look, they're on a 5-game unbeaten run away from home as well, Manchester United, so they know how to suffer without the ball, they know how to play away from home. And as you said, the last game against Crystal Palace, they managed to do that at Old Trafford as well. Not always pretty, the games have always been tight, they've always been within one goal, 1 or 2 goals. But they do concede, but they find a way at the moment, Manchester United.
2 Newcastle United players are on the floor here. They both went for the same ball. Kieran Trippier, and is that Malik Thiaw down there as well? I think they both may have run into one another. Cunha challenges with Trippier, who gives him a little push, and he gets a boot in the eye, does Trippier, and then moments later Thiaw goes to challenge Šeško and also gets a flailing arm. So both are okay and both on their feet. I think the free kick has been given Manchester United's way, but we will have a break in play whilst both Trippier and Thiaw can get some treatment.
They've started well with Newcastle. What are you now, 23 minutes into the game, and I think Newcastle have arguably had the better of the possession. You would say that Manchester United have maybe had the best chance with the effort from Cunha. Newcastle have certainly had more efforts in the final third, but they have lacked a little bit of quality. They've got into some good areas with Barnes and Elanga, but the final ball into the box, or the final decision that they've made, hasn't been right for all the pressure that they've had. Lamans hasn't really had a save to make as yet.
Well, they have been in pretty good goal-scoring form here at St James's Park. They've scored 2 or more goals in 10 of their last 11 Premier League games here, but still 0-0 on Sports Extra 3, as Mbeumo has it right-hand side of the box, swung in by Fernandes, headed down by Cunha. Šeško on the turn, gets a shot goalwards and might have another chance here. Ramsdale is there just in the nick of time. In fact, the referee has seen a foul. I think Šeško was a little bit too eager there to bundle through the challenges. So Newcastle United have this free kick inside their own penalty area, but there was a squeak there for Šeško.
And that's what he gives you when he's playing in the form that he's in, and the presence that he has, because it was such a simple ball back to Bruno Fernandes, and it was almost a no-look cross, because he knew that Šeško was going to be in there, in and amongst the 6-yard box, in and amongst the bodies in the black and white shirt, and he'd have a chance of winning an aerial ball. Bruno Fernandes didn't even need to look. The ball was played back to him on the angle, right-footed, instep, whips it into the box because of the presence of Šeško.
7 in his last 8 for Benjamin Šeško, having only managed 2 goals in his first 17 appearances. There's a player that seems to have come to life under Michael Carrick. Trippier is making good progress on that far side, the right. Elanga to the byline, his cross again a little heavy, in fact is too heavy. Barnes made something of the last one, couldn't make anything of that, and it's out of play for a Manchester United throw.
Once again, the lack of quality in the final third. Elanga gets into a really good position. Luke Shaw's not close enough to him. He's got 5 or 6 yards of space. You'd think a player of his quality, it's a simple delivery or a reverse pass into one of his teammates. Takes the wrong choice, and the execution of the cross once again was poor.
Yeah, another example of Newcastle not taking advantage of these advantageous positions that they find themselves in. Newcastle 0, Manchester United 0, under the lights at St James's Park, shining brightly down from all angles. Free kick Manchester United. Casemiro is tripped by Elanga, who gets a yellow card. Was that Elanga or Ramsey? It was Ramsey who got the touch there. So Jacob Ramsey for the little foul on, it's a little shirt pull on Casemiro, so that normally is an automatic yellow card.
And the fact that he got outpaced by Casemiro as well. I think that's what probably more disappointed him. Clever feet from the Brazilian. We took it with the outside of his right boot, went round Jacob Ramsey, swung his right arm and pulled him back in turn. First booking of the game.
And you normally always see a yellow card for that sort of infringement. Casemiro goes directly towards Šeško, a couple of ricochets, and it finds Mbeumo, not the intended recipient. Clever ball in field. Main, who's not really been involved, and his touch was loose there, helped out by Fernandes. Casemiro to Mbeumo again. Another good pass into the penalty area. Mbeumo goes right hand side, right footed cross. Is that out for a corner? No. Burn just prevents the set piece. No. What's the flag up here? Did go out of play. So it is a Manchester United corner.
Yeah, good play from Mbeumo on this right hand side. Naturally left footed, wants to cut inside. Lewis Hall showing him outside. He took the opportunity to go round the full-back, and he wins this side a corner, which he will take.
First corner for Manchester United in front of the Gallagate. Manchester United, who have a very good record from set pieces, second behind Arsenal in the goal scoring stakes. And Bryan Mbeumo is over this one, right hand side, in swinger with his left foot, and it is headed wide off a Newcastle United head. Kieran Trippier. There were several Newcastle players there, seemingly going for the same ball. As always, plenty of pushing and shoving. It's very difficult to see actually who that did come off last.
It was Kieran Trippier. It's not gone far wide of the far post either. The joint of post and bar is a lovely ball to the back post from Mbeumo. I'm not so sure Trippier knew too much about it.
Fernandes now on that far side for Manchester United to take this corner. One arm in the air, right underneath the crossbar. Burn heads away before Ramsdale could collect, and in fact, even if Burn had not got there, it looked like a comfortable catch for Ramsdale. Fernandes keeps this move going for Manchester United. However, his touch is too far ahead of Mbeumo, and that's out of play for a Newcastle United goal kick. We have played 27, nearly 28 minutes at St James's Park, and still we wait for the first goal.
It's a really good defensive header from Dan Burn. I'd have loved to have a player like that in front of me when I was in goal. You know, what you do is you either mark zonally or you man mark within the 18-yard box. You always leave a player like Dan Burn free, and all you say to him is just go and attack it, and he does that so often and so well.
You would have had some fine exponents of that skill in front of you during your days. Who is the best? A Ledley King, someone like that?
Well, I had a few. That's why I played for so long.
No, I don't believe that. I'm sure they'll say the same about you as well.
Well, I kept him busy.
Well, goalkeeper's very much the discussion point tonight with Nick Pope on the bench, Aaron Ramsdale in. It does raise the England question as well, with the World Cup not too far away. Joel Linton through the centre circle, rampaging towards the edge of the Manchester United box, finds Gordon. Another example of an intricate pass that doesn't quite work out. Manchester United clear, but Newcastle have it back once again. Joel Linton's header, Ramsey level with the edge of the box, right hand side. Trippier overlaps, ignored. Joel Linton instead picks it up, but did have the look of a move that was always likely to fizzle out, and fizzle out it did. Cunha to Mbeumo, Hall just in front of Bryan Mbeumo, but he gets it back still, the Manchester United forward, and brings Mazraoui into the game, who has taken on the Paul Robinson approach of not only the base layer but the gloves as well on this nippy evening at St James's Park. Šeško's first time ball, and Mbeumo near side the Manchester United right as they go from left to right. Back into the own half it goes. Yoro and Casemiro once again also in the base layer and the gloves, and Harry Maguire, who turns 33 tomorrow, as you very kindly noted for me just before the game.
He's doing well, Maguire, at the moment. He's in a good vein of form. There's a lot of talk about him getting back in and around the England squad, and do you take him to the World Cup? And I think that's a debate that certainly he has put himself into because of his recent form. No coincidence that it's since Michael Carrick's come back in and he's getting a run in the side, and it's a settled back four that he enjoys playing in. I think as a leader both on and off the field, it's a very good addition at the moment for an England squad. Certainly a conversation anyway.
Well, it wasn't always an automatic starter under Ruben Amorim, Harry Maguire, as Aaron Ramsdale has saved possession here for Newcastle inside the Newcastle box, and even despite Amorim playing a back three in which Harry Maguire tended to thrive in, especially for England under Gareth Southgate when he went that way, but he is back very much as a first choice for Michael Carrick. You can say the same about Kobbie Mainoo in the heart of the Manchester United midfield as well, who barely got a look under Amorim but has started every game under Michael Carrick, albeit he's been fairly quiet so far in this game, has Kobbie Mainoo. We have 15 minutes to play until half-time. And after what had been a bright start for Newcastle and a bright start to this game, it has just lost a little bit of its fizz in the last 10 minutes or so. And even though we've had a couple of half chances for both, the Cunha effort just over the bar for Manchester United, we've had Barnes and Tonali from distance for Newcastle, we are still waiting for what you'd call a clear-cut opportunity. Maybe it comes now as Mainoo has it in midfield but won't get that time and space. Ramsey quickly closes him down, and then Newcastle lose their way. This is all a little bit scrappy. Maybe Fernandes can bring some quality to proceedings. His low ball into the box, blocked by Tonali, and then Byrne can dink it downfield where Gordon miscontrols. And this has not been the most secure 5-10 minutes from both sides, who are giving it away relatively frequently.
The turnover possession is quick at this spell of the game. Newcastle dominated the early stages. Manchester United, they've sat off, and to their credit, they've soaked up what Newcastle have had to give them, which has been a dominance in possession and probably territorial advantage as well, without really creating too much in front of goal. Whereas now Manchester United, you can see them getting some kind of a foothold in the game. They've always got a threat down this right-hand side with Mbeumo. One-on-one with Lewis Hall. He's been isolated twice now.
Shaw looking good on that far side, the left for Manchester United, approaching the penalty area, but found his path to goal blocked, so we're all the way back with Casemiro. Base of the centre circle, almost stationary the ball now. Then the clever reverse. Cunha is fouled by an eager Thiaw, and Cunha waves his arm in the air to suggest he's got a knock that needs treatment here. It was a clever ball from Casemiro. Cunha in front of Thiaw, who came barrelling into Cunha. It's a definite free kick as Thiaw catches Cunha quite painfully on top of the left foot.
And it's a straight ball into Cunha. He's running across the front of Thiaw. He arrives late and he does catch him, and it is a definite free kick for Manchester United. But as you say, the pace had really slowed. The ball was stationary at the feet of Casemiro. The lack of movement in red shirts in front of him, and it was Cunha who made his way infield, and he drew the foul. Free kick in what looks like a fairly dangerous position for Manchester United, but you would feel it's just too far out for a shot for Aaron Ramsdale. The Newcastle goalkeeper choosing not to erect a wall, which, you know, I don't mind from that type of distance, because in the training ground you'd back yourself 10 times out of 10 to not be beaten from that type of range. When you put players in between you and the ball, you cause yourself more of a problem sometimes.
Yeah, there's a mini wall being erected here, which is two-man big. Barnes and Joe Linton, who are edging forward here despite the line being drawn. Fernandes, it's a good 35 yards out. This looks like it'll be dinked to the back post, and is headed away by Thiaw, who conceded the free kick. Elanga then from Gordon. There might be a chance to break here for Newcastle. Elanga does really well to find Gordon, and now Joel Linton, who is surging through the middle of the Manchester United half. Barnes one side, Gordon the other. Joel Linton might go his own way, and he did, but fires it over the crossbar, and a long way over the bar at that as well. He grimaces and looks to the sky. That was an excellent opening for Newcastle. Barnes and Gordon in the end were decoy runners. Joe Linton went for goal himself, but a long way over the bar.
Yeah, the Newcastle players are complaining to the referee. They want a foul earlier on in the build-up from Kobbie Mainoo on Anthony Elanga. I think the referee saw it and allowed play to go on. Joe Linton ran 3/4 the length of the pitch. The Manchester United back four just backed off, gave him the space. Anthony Gordon made the running behind, took the defenders away. Space opened up for Joe Linton. He came inside, and you think, go on then, hit it. And hit it he did, and I still don't think it's landed.
Almost joined the Manchester United fans at the top of the Leazes end, and they are a long way away.
It wasn't his finest effort on goal, no. Joe Linton.
And we got a shot of Eddie Howe on our TV monitor just in front of us, who put his arms up to his head. It's those sort of chances he could really do with hitting the back of the net. Eddie Howe, who, depending on who you speak to around these parts, is either under a little bit of pressure because of the run, or still has lots of credit in the bank because of the season that Newcastle had last season when they won their first major trophy in a very long time.
I think the problem that they've had, what you touched on earlier, is the new signings that really haven't worked in the way that he would have wanted to immediately. You look at, for the likes, I don't know, for argument's sake, Manchester City, you look at Gay and Semenyo, look at the way that those two signings have hit the ground running, their numbers and figures. You look at Newcastle's two signings, Visser has got 1 Premier League goal, Elanga's got no Premier League goals. You know, 2 big signings in the summer that haven't quite worked for him. Voltemada as well at the moment. You know, he's devoid of confidence completely. You know, there's a number of factors in and around Eddie Howe, and that is split in opinion at the moment. But I do think the consensus, the general consensus, is very well liked, and he's still got a lot in the bank.
Gordon fouls Mazraoui, and Manchester United have this free kick in their right back position. Morgan Gibbs-White has equalised for Nottingham Forest against Manchester City, and that could be a significant goal at both ends of the table. And Manchester City, who had taken the lead through Antoine Semenyo, pegged back by Morgan Gibbs-White. That's a little foul by Casemiro on Hall, and that's going to be a yellow card for, was it Mbeumo that caught him? It was Brian Mbeumo. Yeah, Fernandez ball into Mbeumo, his loose touch, and then Mbeumo swings a wild leg at Hall. So he also goes into the book, and Newcastle have this free kick.
He does well there, Lewis Hall. Tries to change defence into attack very quickly. Gets the wrong side of Mbeumo. Mbeumo puts his less favoured right leg out, trips over the Newcastle fullback. It's a clear booking. An opportunity now for Newcastle to put the central defenders forward. Tonali stood over the ball 5 yards into the Manchester United half, and this is going to go long again to try and cause them a problem.
Sandro Tonali, arms heavily tattooed, is over this free kick that's very close to the halfway line. Goes short to Barnes, changing the angle of attack. Barnes with his right foot into Mbeumo. This is all a little bit of a waste as far as Newcastle are concerned, although they can still plot forward with Elanga far side the right. Trippier on the overlap. His ball was helped into a good cross, actually, inadvertently by Shaw. It came off the top of Shaw's head and could have been awkward, but Lamans was always in charge of that. Jumps, clutches, collects and keeps the score at Newcastle 0, Manchester United 0.
He's looking like he's been a really good signing, Lamans, hasn't he? I mean, he's still very, very young. You're looking at 23, the Belgian, and when in this day and age, paid in and around 20 million euros for him. He looks like a goalkeeper that's going to adapt and grow in confidence, and he seems to be doing that every week. He's certainly provided an element of calmness to that Manchester United defence.
Yeah, it is a calmness that does belie his tender age. Yellow card for Joel Linton here, and that I fancy was for dissent more than anything else. And then he applauds the referee. That is risky. That is very risky, and Sandro Tonali wisely drags him away. It was Joel Linton's foul on Cunha, and he got the yellow card for that, and then applauds Peter Banks above his head. It's a good job he didn't see that.
It's not risky, that's stupid. That is just plain stupid from Joel Linton. I mean, he's booked him. He's clearly fuming at the moment because of what he said to the referee. And he walks away and he stands there. He starts clapping in front of his chest, and he puts him above his head. Tonali, quite rightly, grabs him by the scruff of the neck and pulls him away. And thankfully the referee hasn't seen it, and doesn't look like VAR are getting involved.
I think if Peter Banks had seen that, maybe in a red coming out. Šeško, as he bursts into the penalty area, looked like he was tripped by Byrne, albeit there's no real complaints from the Manchester United player. And now Shaw is being booked here for a foul on Elanga. It's just getting a little spicy here. Shaw blocked the run of Elanga far side the right, and that's another obvious yellow card.
Well, what Peter Banks, the referee, has done here is set his precedence. You know, he's flashed a couple of yellow cards early in the game, and now every time there's any type of foul or infringement, he's of the similar type of level, he's having to dish out the yellow cards. And that one for Luke Shaw was probably the most worthy yellow card that we've seen in this game. The one for Joe Linton, obviously, for dissent. But again, we're just having another look at that opportunity for Šeško. Gets in between two Newcastle defenders. No real protest for him on the grounds of a penalty, but a good quick move from Manchester United.
Yeah, 3 yellow cards in 4 minutes, as Gary Flintoff has shown me alongside to our left, providing updates into 5 Live. And it's 4 yellow cards in total now, 2 apiece. Free kick for Newcastle, played low into the penalty area. Manchester United temporarily deal with that. Trippier with both arms out to say, I've got this, calm down everyone. Right foot dink to the back post, Byrne rises, this will drop loose inside the box. Maguire with a powerful header away, and a good one too. And Mbeumo, that's an unwise flick. which put Casemiro in trouble. Newcastle win it back. Casemiro went sliding into a challenge, and a good job for him, he didn't connect, otherwise that would have been a 5th yellow card. Joel Linton now evading a couple of challenges, and now Tonali swings it out to Elanga, who's on the far side, the right. The energy level is increased, helped by those yellow cards. Elanga into the box, step over, cross, it's there at the front post for a combination of Barnes, who was close, so too Gordon. In the end it was Lammens who took control and collapses on the ball, and the score remains 0-0 with 5 minutes to play until half-time.
No end product again from a black and white shirt. Elanga, he's been the main culprit of that in the first half. He's had some really good possession, some good runs down the right hand side, gets in the position again, and once again the final delivery into the box is arguably poor. It could have been a better delivery. Newcastle didn't really create anything. He did well, he had 1 or 2 step overs, got around the outside of Luke Shaw, got in a dangerous position, but then wastes the final ball.
And that's been the story of Newcastle United's half here on 5 Sports Extra 3 via the BBC Sounds app. They looked threatening up to a point and then just cannot find that final pass. As Mazraoui comes over halfway, the Fernandez flick looked good for Mbeumo, and Mainu goes in for a challenge on Hall. Referee was right on top of that, waves play on. Mainu did get a fair chunk of the ball. Cunha passes responsibility to Maguire now, who's on halfway and is sidling forward with no great pace. Again, the ball is stationary. The dreadlocked Yoro with the right-footed ball, that's clever. Šeško, chest control that takes him wide of the penalty area. Good strength to shrug off Thiaw, but the ball back to Mbeumo wasn't great. However, good feet from Šeško to win it back. Mbeumo across the box. Mainu's right foot shot is brilliantly saved by Ramsdale. And out of nowhere, Manchester United nearly take the lead. Mainu's right foot shot across his body, that was heading in until Ramsdale prodded it wide. Still United on the attack, Manchester United. Mainu dispossessed on the edge, Thiaw clears. Manchester United ending this half strongly. Still 0-0 with Newcastle. Maguire dispossessed by Gordon, now he's out of position if Newcastle can maybe exploit that, but this counter-attack is not being developed with any great pace, and in fact they might, no, in fact they lose it. Mbeumo fouls Lewis Hall, and Newcastle have this free kick left back position, but that was a good opportunity for Kobbie Mainoo.
Well, that's the best bit of football in the game, it really was. Well worked on the right hand side by Mbeumo. He wins the ball back for Manchester United, and Kobbie Mainoo is on the angle of the 18-yard box, 2 or 3 yards outside the box, and with his instep he swings it high and across Aaron Ramsdale. It's heading for the far top right hand corner. Newcastle goalkeeper moves his feet superbly well, goes up with his right hand, and it's a great save because the ball's always going away from him. It's a great technique from Kobbie Mainoo with the inside of his foot up and over the goalkeeper. It looks on the angle where we are, right behind it. It's creeping into the far top corner, and the next thing you just see Aaron Ramsdale fly into the picture and tip it round the post.
Some big goals elsewhere in the Premier League. At the bottom of the table, Manchester City back in front at home to Nottingham Forest. Rodri has scored at the Etihad, and West Ham lead at Fulham. Crescencio Somerville has scored at Craven Cottage, and at Villa Park, Chelsea now 3-1 up away at Aston Villa. Cole Palmer has scored there. Sports Extra for Manchester City Forest, Sports Extra 2 for Villa Chelsea. Fulham West Ham is live on the BBC Sport website, so a flurry of goals, but no goals here, and we have 90 seconds or so until half time, and there may be 1 or 2 added minutes at the end of this half as well, but still Newcastle 0, Manchester United 0, and both sides, Paul, have had their moments but lacking real quality in front of goal.
Yeah, I tell you, Brian Mbeumo is going to have to be careful, because the way the referee's given out the yellow cards, he just goes thundering into Lewis Hall there once again, right down beneath us in front of the dugouts. Players have been booked for less than that in the first half, and he's already carrying a yellow card.
Joe Linton and Ramsey, the 2 on yellow cards for Newcastle, and Mbeumo and Shaw for Manchester United. And yeah, the spicier this gets, the likelihood of a red card increases. It's the red shirts of Manchester United, with Cunha, red base layer to match his red shirt, and he glides away from Trippier. He's into the box, left hand side. Cunha's effort parried by Ramsdale, and Mbeumo on the rebound over the bar. That's another big chance for Manchester United, and one that you'd fancy Brian Mbeumo to score. Ramsdale makes the initial save, he parries it into a dangerous area, and Mbeumo arrives 7 yards out, and like many of his predecessors in this game, he blazes over the crossbar.
Well, he gets lucky there, Aaron Ramsdale, because he makes a save, but he parries it into an area into the middle of the goal, and it hits his own defender. I think it's Dan Burn running back towards him. It inadvertently comes off Dan Burns' right knee and it drops to Brian Mbeumo 6-7 yards out from goal on his right foot. Aaron Ramsdale's desperately trying to get back into his goal, sliding across the goal, trying to make the block. But Mbeumo on his right foot, high and over the bar. That's a super opportunity for Manchester United. It all came from Cunha down the left-hand side, getting the better of Kieran Trippier. Gets in behind on his left foot, forces the save. It's a poor miss that from Brian Mbeumo. I think that's probably the best chance of the game.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. 3 minutes have added on time at the end of this first half. Gordon with a clever ball. Ramsey in front of Lamons, goes down, and referee Peter Banks is going to point for a goal kick. He thought about that for a long time. Ramsey just in front of Lamons. He went down. Now what's the referee doing here?
He's waiting for his VAR. The VAR are just going to have a look at it. It's a ball over the top into Anthony Gordon. He finds the ball with the outside of the right boot to Ramsey.
Now there's a red card being shown. Now, who's he just shown that to? Peter Banks has shown a red card here, and it's a straight red. Is it for Bruno Fernandes?
Well, he's walking this way. We were too busy watching the replay. There was a coming together, there was a melee in and around the players. Bruno Fernandes is walking this way with his arms flailing. It's looking like it's the Manchester United captain who's wandering this way. There's a bunch of players, the Newcastle players, in and around the referee. It's a second yellow. It's a second yellow and a red.
Wow. So Manchester United are down to 10 players. The red card flourished after the second yellow.
Listen, I think it's Jacob Ramsey.
For diving.
It might be Jacob Ramsey for diving, because I think the goalkeeper Lamons has come flying out, and looking at the replay there, the goalkeeper's not got any of it. The goalkeeper's got there and he's pulled away. Jacob Ramsey goes past the goalkeeper, then throws himself to the ground looking for the penalty, and then the referee brandishes a yellow and a red. And it looks to me, and it's Jacob Ramsey that's been sent off for a second yellow for diving.
Well, the way Bruno Fernandes reacted there, it looked like a man who'd just been shown the red card, but the yellow for Jacob Ramsey, absolutely for diving, and that follows the yellow he got earlier. And Newcastle are down to 10 players. Jacob Ramsey sent off on the stroke of half-time. The boos for the referee. It was all a very strange sequence of events, because the referee seemed to wait an awfully long time to decide what to do, and then he didn't flourish the yellow card immediately, almost as if he was perhaps taking advice from his assistant referee on that far side.
Fair play to him, though. He was quicker than the stadium for getting the replay up on our monitors, because we were waiting to see on the monitors to see what had happened, whether there was any contact from the goalkeeper. And as we were about to get the first replay to see if there was any contact, the referee's already given him a second yellow and sent him for diving.
Manchester United on the attack. Cunha with the right foot shot, blocked at source by Joel Linton. Newcastle, well, their immediate problem will be getting into half-time at 0-0, which is what Eddie Howe will want. He'll need to regroup, with Newcastle down to 10 men after that Jacob Ramsey sending off. Gordon to Tonali, that's a little loose. Fernandes in quickly, now Casemiro on halfway, a bit more space, although Casemiro wanted too much of it. And Gordon in very quickly to dispossess the Manchester United midfielder. Now he sets off towards the edge of the box. Now he goes down under Fernandes' challenge. No penalty there. And the referee, now has he given the penalty?
It's got to be a penalty. It has to be a penalty.
He has. It's a penalty for Newcastle. Gordon under the challenge. Again, Peter Banks didn't give it immediately. Again, seemed to look at his assistant and has pointed to the penalty spot. And Newcastle, despite being down to 10 men, now have a penalty. Anthony Gordon fouled by Bruno Fernandes.
It's a foul from Bruno Fernandes. It's really, really good play from Anthony Gordon. He wins the ball back himself in the middle of the pitch, and what he does is he drives into the Manchester United 18-yard box where players can't touch him. There's Mazwari and Fernandes, and what he does really well, Anthony Gordon, he goes right between the two players. He instigates the contact. It's Bruno Fernandes' knee on Anthony Gordon's leg, and there's contact. He makes the Newcastle player trip himself up, and immediately you could see it's a penalty. It's super play from Anthony Gordon. What a finish to the first half this is.
An incredible finish. Newcastle down to 10 men, but with the chance to take the lead on the stroke of half-time. And what a boost this would give them ahead of what you fancy will be a tough second half with one fewer man. Anthony Gordon will have the responsibility for Newcastle United, their top scorer this season, 14 goals, most of them coming in the Champions League. And what a big moment this is for him and for Newcastle United. In front of the Lees' end, which towers above him. Senny Lamons all in yellow waits. This feels a big moment in this game. Newcastle 0, Manchester United 0, but Gordon with the chance from the penalty spot. Untucks his shirt, Lamons jumps, trying to put off Gordon, who waits and waits. Now he steps up and scores! Lamons dives to his left, Gordon down the middle, and Newcastle United down to 10 men, but now have the advantage. Newcastle 1, Manchester United 0.
What an incredible end to the first half here at St James's Park. All actions, sendings off, penalties. Bruno Fernandes is absolutely fuming, walking towards the referee, still whinging and moaning to him. Doesn't feel it was a penalty. It was a clear penalty. The referee got that one absolutely spot on. Anthony Gordon, that goal was all about him. Yes, he scored the penalty, but he won the ball back midway through the Manchester United half. He drove into the 18-yard box. He won the penalty, and then he waited and he took his time. It looked to be a mountain of pressure on his shoulders. It seemed an age. The whole stadium went quiet. Shaped to go to the goalkeeper's left-hand side. He just closed his foot, rolled it down the centre of the goal. Newcastle 1 up with 10 men with a half-time whistle imminent.
And it is set up beautifully for the second half. Gordon's 15th goal of the season. Brave to go down the middle. Lamons dived to his left, but he's a tall man. He very nearly got there with the base of his foot, but Gordon put enough on it. No real celebrations from Eddie Howe and Jason Tindall. They know that there is an awfully long way to go in this game. But what a frenetic end to this half that was threatening to meander to half-time with no real action, but that Jacob Ramsey sending off, second yellow card for diving, and then Anthony Gordon, who did legitimately win a penalty over Bruno Fernandes' trailing leg, means we are at Newcastle 1, Manchester United 0. And what do Manchester United have in this period of additional time that we still play? And there is still time to play, even though we are into the 52nd minute. The cross is headed away by Trippier. Casemiro picks up the loose ball. Gordon now wins it for Newcastle, and suddenly there are black and white shirts streaming forward. Barnes one side, Elanga the other. Gordon in the central position onto his right foot, finds Barnes, angle of the penalty area, running at Mazraoui. He's away from Mazraoui, who got back at him and clears, only to Joel Linton, who heads towards Gordon. He's fouled, or held at least, by Mainu. No free kick, says the referee. What an end to this half, and now Cunha is fouled by Tonali, and that will be a free kick to Manchester United, just over halfway. I must admit, Paul, I did not see this coming, and it's not over yet. Fernandes, free kick taken quickly. Mazraoui away from Hall, fouled by Hall, and that will be a free kick to Manchester United, just outside the penalty area, right-hand side.
Don't want him to blow the half-time whistle.
No.
This has just caught fire. It's absolutely superb. The action at both ends. Manchester United attacking Newcastle at one point there with Anthony Gordon, Elanga and Harvey Barnes. They were 3-on-3 on the counter-attack. Dropped very much into a 4-4-1 formation now. Newcastle, Anthony Gordon having to work extremely hard, but Brian Mbeumo does well on this right-hand side. Surely we're in the last knock-ins of the first half now. Manchester United have got an opportunity to put the ball into the box.
This could be the last action of what has been an action-packed end to this first half on 5 Sports Extra 3. Newcastle 1, Manchester United 0. Fernandes, free kick, front post, Casemiro's header, 1-1. In front of the Gallagher, Manchester United are level, and it's Casemiro who heads in Fernandes' free kick, and no sooner had Newcastle taken the lead, Manchester United have an equaliser. Newcastle 1, Manchester United 1.
Oh, what a game of football. We predicted a cracker before the start of the game, didn't we? 2 goals, sending off, penalties. This game's had everything. Talk about free kicks all the time at the moment, don't we? Bruno Fernandes, it's a super ball into the near post, it really is. Newcastle defensive line very deep, and it's Casemiro. Imagine the defensive line all the way across the 6-yard box. Casemiro is the first one in that defensive line, almost on the point of the 6-yard box. He rises highest, he rises the quickest in front of Lewis Hall. Glancing header across Aaron Ramsdale. Not a lot the Newcastle goalkeeper can do. Well executed set play, and we still play.
Not anymore. That is the half-time whistle. The boos for referee Peter Banks, presumably because of the red card for Jacob Ramsey. He did give Newcastle a penalty, which Anthony Gordon scored for 1-0, but Casemiro's equaliser for Manchester United, the cross from Fernandes, Casemiro's header. This place is vibrant, not particularly in a good way, but what a second half we have.
Just listen to this. This tells you everything you need to know about Newcastle fans' feeling towards the referee, Peter Banks, who, by the way, 5 minutes ago gave them a penalty. Listen to this as he nears the touchline.
He's been flanked by his assistants. In fact, Joe Willock, who's a substitute, is very, very unhappy and having a word with Peter Banks. In fact, one of the assistants has to tell him to back off. So the feeling is not good here at St James's Park. Despite the penalty awarded in their favour, the red card to Jacob Ramsey has clearly irked the Newcastle United fans. The 2 yellows, the second for diving. Manchester United level through Casemiro's header. It has been quite an extraordinary end to the first half, and it sets us up, Paul, very nicely for the second.
That was brilliant. It really was. I mean, it was a slow burner, but then when it caught fire, it certainly did do that. I mean, the red card ignited the flames, and then from there it's just got better and better. I think from Newcastle's point of view, Anthony Gordon's done really well, providing he was that lone figure when they went down to 10 men, winning the penalty. But his work rate off the ball is what won him the penalty. Worked extremely hard, won the ball back, got into the 18-yard box, won the penalty, dispatched the penalty. But then the drama wasn't over, was it? Manchester United have fought their way back in with a simple set play. We look at all the intricacy of set plays and the movement inside the box, but it's all about the delivery. I mean, we can talk about set plays for as long as you like. Unless the delivery is on point, there's no point in the movement in the box. And that was certainly a wonderful delivery from Bruno Fernandes. Casemiro at the near post. Second half is certainly going to be an interesting one. I don't think Newcastle will be as open as and expansive as they've been. Saw them in the 4-4-1 as the half finished. But Manchester United with 11 men will look to go on and win this game now.
19 points dropped from winning positions in the Premier League this season for Newcastle. They took the lead in this game, but they have been pegged back, and with one fewer man for the second half, it's a tough ask to get a win tonight. But we shall see what develops in the second half, and you won't want to miss it, because this game was a slow burner but has burst into life courtesy of the red card, the penalty and the Manchester United equaliser. So Newcastle 1, Manchester United 1. We'll be back for the second half in 10-15 minutes time or so. In the meantime, we're going to bring you some of the latest episode of the Wayne Rooney Show. The former Manchester United captain has been looking back at hostile European away games and a surreal meeting with Maradona. He started by telling us about his most iconic ground.
It has to be the Bernabeu. Real Madrid playing against Real Madrid, I think it was 2013, I think it was. I always remember we played, I played off the right, I played right wing. He played Danny Welbeck off Van Persie, I think it was. And Ronaldo was playing off the left, and what's the Portuguese guy, the left back? Contrao, was it?
Oh yeah, Fabio Contrao.
Yeah, he was playing left back, I think it was. And all the manager said to me was, when we lose the ball, get back and double up on Cristiano. So I literally, that's all I'd done the whole game. It was chase Contrao back and double up on Cristiano.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, so it was a tough game, but to play there, I've played there for England as well. I got subbed at half-time in that game. But yeah, to play there, and we got a good result. Danny Welbeck scored a header. I crossed in for corner. Welbeck scored, and we drew the game 1-1.
He'd always perform well against
but to play at the Bernabeu and Real Madrid, I think, such an iconic club, was massive. But then the return leg of that, actually, we were in the dressing room like 90 minutes before the game, and Alex Ferguson pulled me in and told me I was going to be on the bench, which I was fuming with, because I played our position, I've done a job for the team, helped us get a good draw away from home, and then he left me on the bench for the return leg, and we got beat. I come on towards the end, but the game was done. And it was that evening, actually, I went to Wings restaurant after the game, still my tracksuit, and went in, Maradona was in there.
No way!
So Maradona got a picture with him and stuff, and he had a suit on, full suit, tie, and then he gave me his time. It was a bit weird, like he took his tie off and put his tie on me, had my club tracksuit on.
Have you still got it?
Yeah, I've still got it at home, yeah.
Did he say anything? Like, what did he say?
No, he just gave me his tie.
How did you two communicate? Does he even speak English?
That's what I was kind of wondering.
No, I've met him a few times after that, but yeah, no, we got a picture and he took his tie off and just gave me his tie, yeah. So it was strange moment, but I was I was fuming, obviously, after the game, being on the bench, and then we'd gone through. And so I'd gone out still fuming, having a few glasses of wine to drown my sorrows.
Were you on your own?
No, I was with Colleen, and there was a few of us, actually, to drown my sorrows. I don't often go out in my tracksuit as well, so my club tracksuit, so yeah.
Makes a change from pyjamas.
Yeah, I know, but that was, obviously, I got something good out of the night anyway. I got Maradona's time.
Amazing. You see the Burnabout, what's the atmosphere like there when you're playing? Do the fans give you a lot of stick there, or is it more so?
Do you know what? The England game was tough because we played Spain and they just bopped us everywhere. And I smashed Salgado, I pushed Casillas into the crowd, and that Sven took me off at half time because I would have got sent off. And then I remember Colleen and Kai going and saying that all the seats were heated seats, and that's what they made up. Whatever. But yeah, no, just to play at such an iconic stadium, and you know, throughout your childhood, you've seen all these stadiums like Santero, Bernabeu, the Nou Camp as well. Nou Camp has big speakers around the side of the pitch, so it sounds louder as well when you're on the pitch.
Let's move on to your best atmosphere.
Best atmosphere, I have to say Celtic Park. To play at Celtic 2006, I think it was. And we actually lost the game 1-0, but to play there and feel that atmosphere was incredible.
How come you were a Celtic fan?
Yeah, I'm wondering that.
I just growing up as a kid, I've always liked Celtic. Yeah, so.
But
was it like any particular players, or was it?
I've just always, I think, always liked Celtic. And
did any family members like them or anything?
Yeah, my dad, whole family, everything. But yeah, no, I've always liked Celtic. And then when I was growing up, obviously there was Henrik Larsson, Chris Sutton up top, John Hartson when he was there. Some of the players Celtic have had and moments they've given is incredible. So the team I've always, during my best part of my career, I always thought I'd love to play for Celtic at the end of my career, and obviously it wasn't to be. But
did you ever have any opportunities to play that?
Not really. Not really, but I'm sure if I would have pushed for it, I probably could have. But yeah, going back to that game, we lost the game 1-0. And I always remember coming in after the game, and I think I was negotiating a new deal at the time at Man United, and I always remember coming in, Alex Ferguson come in, and he went nuts, and then he said, and some of you have got the cheek to start talking about a new deal and stuff. I was just sat there, I was just like, whatever. But yeah, no, the atmosphere was incredible. Nakamura, he scored a free kick, and but the atmosphere there, you know, when you stood there and you know, we heard the Champions League music and then just how loud it was, and
they're very passionate fans as well, aren't they? Yeah.
Obviously they've sang their song, which is solely their song, You'll Never Walk Alone, which is the song I don't really like anyway, but so the atmosphere was just incredible.
You see, you said you grew up watching Henrik Larsson. You obviously got to play with him afterwards. Did you think like, oh my God, did you have that sort of moment?
Yeah, it was mad. And not to the extent, obviously, where I played with Duncan Ferguson, but watching Henrik grow up, and then all of a sudden he comes to us on loan, and I'm playing in front of him, and do you know what? He was better than what I thought.
Right.
Because when you're watching him play for Celtic, and not to sound disrespectful, you're thinking, oh, it's in Scotland, it's Scottish football, it's not as good as the Premier League. And then he come in to play with us, and even when as an older person, his movement was incredible. And we actually had a real good chemistry between us. We worked off each other, and he made some really good runs and stuff. So he was, and then that got me thinking how good he must have been when he was younger.
Of course, yeah. He's my favourite ever loan player that we ever had. We haven't had a lot, but it was that 3 months. I was like, I wish we'd have got him when he was just a bit younger. Was there anything you learnt from him on a training ground or anything like that as well?
Just his movement was really good, because he'd lost the yard of pace as well, I think, when he came into us. So his movement had to be really good to get away from players as well. And so it was purely just his movement and watching him. But then that understanding, I was always a player who really studied and watched my teammates, because I wanted to know what movements they make and what's the trigger for him making this run. So if it's a small little step to this way, to go that way, I used to really watch them closely, so I understood what they were going to do, so I could either pass it to them, or they're making a run to take a player away to make space. So watching them in training and then in games, to play alongside them was special.
OK, let's finish on your all-time favourite European away night.
Obviously, the final was a favourite one, but it's a neutral ground for us in Chelsea to play at. I think the favourite one was the semi-final against Arsenal. I think, obviously, it's always nice when you beat Arsenal away from home anyway, but I think they were confident that they'd win, and them to go there and we battered them. And actually, I should never have played in that game. I was ill the night before. I woke up about 3 o'clock in the morning. I was like sweating, dripping in sweat. I was shivering, I was freezing. Then I was hot. So I phoned the doctor. The doctor come to my room, and then he gave me tablets. Still about 9 o'clock in the morning, exactly the same. So the doctor gave me so many different tablets to get through the game. I should never have played, really. And then after the game, we stayed in London. We stayed in a hotel. All the players and staff were celebrating and all went to bed. I stayed to bed, and for the next 3 or 4 days, I was in a bad way. So to get through that game, done well. The doctor's done well to get me through that game, because I should never have played.
What can you remember from the actual game, or is it all a bit of a blur?
Yeah, no, it was incredible. It's from Ronaldo's free kick, which it's one of them where he puts the ball down, he starts walking back, and you think, what are you doing? Don't shoot from there. Whatever, and then he has, and the ball's gone, and then took off again. I think it was Almunia and goal. It took off a couple of times, and he scored. And then the breakaway goal again, there was me, Ronaldo, Jason Park breaking away. And we give them a lesson in terms of they were a good team. They moved the ball well, but we sat there and we were clinical.
There was something about midweek games with Arsenal during that period. It was just any midweek game there was a lot of tension. And
the midweek game, the night games are always better, wherever it is, especially Old Trafford. But when you go into a Champions League night, and whether that's so we're talking about a few stadiums there, whatever stadium that is, when you go to a Champions League night, and especially if there's a little bit of rain as well, they're the best nights.
How come? What is it? What makes it different from
it just
like
makes the pitches a bit, when you see the floodlights and you see the rain coming through the floodlights, and the Champions League music, everything about it. And then if you win, obviously, and to win at the Emirates, the second leg of a semi-final tie, to go to a Champions League final, and it's such a special moment. I missed the Barcelona game at Old Trafford when Scholes scored. I was injured. In that game, I got injured in the Chelsea game, the game before, which I should never have played, because I took injections for the Barcelona game, took injections for the Chelsea game, but we'd already won the league, so I should never have played in that game. But Alex Ferguson wanted me to play, so it got that bad that I couldn't play the second leg. So I missed that celebration on the pitch, and I was in the stand and when we made the final. So this one again, I was ill, so I missed the whole celebration, but I was still in the dressing room, obviously after the game, knackered, and I straight away I could feel my body was just shutting off, so I had to get back to bed. But to be on that pitch and feel that at the Emirates was a special moment.
The latest episode of the Wayne Rooney Show, we heard a little bit of it there, and you can download the latest episode on the BBC Sounds app. Wayne Rooney would have loved this atmosphere at St James's Park, and he would have been looking forward to the second half as well if he was still in a Manchester United shirt, given that Manchester United will be playing against Newcastle United, who have one fewer man. Jacob Ramsey's sending off on the stroke of half-time that really did ignite this game that had been bubbling along nicely enough, but the Ramsey red card took it to a new level. Sent off for diving, his first yellow card for a little pullback on Casemiro, and then, much to the Newcastle fans' ire, a second yellow for diving, getting there just in front of Senny Lamans. Peter Banks, the referee, judging Ramsey to have gone down a little too easily, and the Newcastle fans very unhappy with that. I think there was a general thought at half-time, you don't need me to tell you who's just reappeared for the second half, the officials. But the consensus at half-time from some of the Newcastle fans seemed to be that they felt that Ramsey was losing his footing and didn't dive, just couldn't keep his balance. We shall see how the second half develops here on 5 Sports Extra 3, and we will be jumping across at some point onto BBC Radio 5 Live at the culmination of Arsenal-Brighton, Brighton-Arsenal, which is still 1-0 to Arsenal. There will be a change at half-time because Joe Willock has emerged and Harvey Barnes is the man who is being withdrawn by Eddie Howe. So maybe no surprise that there hasn't been a half-time change for Newcastle, who have to now negotiate the final 45 minutes with 10 men. So Joe Willock on for Harvey Barnes. We're just about ready to go at the start of this second half. Former England international Paul Robinson is watching on. Willock for Barnes, what do you make of that?
Well, I don't really care. I just want more of the same, please, if that's all right. I thought it was a super first half. I think he's slightly changed it. Alanga and Joe Linton look to be the two players that will support Anthony Gordon, and Willock maybe in a slightly deeper role alongside Tonali. Aforementioned on the ball now, playing it into Dan Burn, but I think for Newcastle it's going to be about digging in now. They're going to have to suffer at times without the ball. They're going to have an attacking threat, which they've got in Alanga and Gordon, because if they do play deep, they've got that pace on the counter-attack and try and cause Manchester United a threat when they do have possession.
Well, they're on the attack now and they've won a throw. Level with the edge of the Manchester United penalty area, right-hand side. Newcastle now going from left to right, so they'll have the support of the Gallagher behind them, or at least in front of them. They are attacking the Gallagher end, and they are in their black and white shirts, black shorts and black socks, going from left to right. Manchester United home kit, the red shirts, white shorts, white socks, with some defending to do. Trippier's throw is not particularly long, and it was hurled in at a very low trajectory, so cleared by the thigh of Mateus Cunha. Now to play for a Newcastle throw.
It's the shortest long throw I think I've ever seen. It only just made it into the box. But I think, listen, there's a consensus of opinion in the press box, the press room at half-time, that maybe he was unfortunate to be sent off, Jacob Ramsey. Yes, it was an instigate. He went to the floor without contact, but actually there is a case there, maybe did he lose his footing, and I think that's probably sort of a disgruntlement of a lot of the Newcastle fans, who will obviously look favourable towards their own player. Without seeing it numerous times, it's very difficult. I think it's subjective, it's personal opinion. There was definitely no contact with the goalkeeper, but was he waiting for contact and he was off balance and then went down to ground unintentionally? Only he will know that, of course. But actually it didn't look great, and you can see why he went.
Gave himself some thinking time, Peter Banks. Didn't give it straight away, almost as if the assistant referee was giving him some advice as well. He was close to it, it was his side. But you can make your own mind up. Match of the day tonight, 20-11, BBC One and the iPlayer. And I'm sure it's one of those that if you're wearing red, you think good decision, and if you're in black and white, you do not think that. Here's Mbeumo for Manchester United, right-hand side, deep cross, and there's no one there at the back post. Not sure who he thought was there, maybe Cunha, but he was a long way from it, and it's out of play for a Newcastle goal kick.
No, they're not going to be in a rush to take the set plays now, Newcastle, whether it be a goal kicks or throw-in. Aaron Ramsdale's walked all the way to the right-hand side of this pitch to take the ball in hand off Kieran Trippier. Slowly makes his way back to the edge of his 6-yard box, and they're not going to try playing out in the second half. Newcastle, immediately he's got the ball, Ramsdale, it's on the 6-yard box line, and everybody in a black and white shirt departs towards the halfway line. There's actually only Malik Thiaw in the Newcastle shirt who's inside his own half. I hope he can reach Aaron Ramsdale.
It's a goal kick that is hammered downfield and is met by a combination of Casemiro and Joel Linton. And here is Joel Linton again, far side the left for Newcastle as they go from left to right. Celtic in front at Pittodrie against Aberdeen in that big game at the top end of the Scottish Premiership. Celtic looking to go above Rangers, and they lead 2-1. That was an 8 o'clock kickoff. So around 70 minutes have been played there. West Ham have beaten Fulham. Now that's a big result at the bottom end of the Premier League table. Crescencio Somerville's goal. So Fulham 0, West Ham 1. Forest on the verge of a very good point at Manchester City. Still 2-2 there. And it puts Spurs in a bit of grief. They're at home to Palace tomorrow, a game you can hear live on 5 Live. And Mbeumo now going from right to left across the Newcastle half. That's a good challenge by Willock, who you fancy will be doing more defensive work than attacking, but he did his defensive duties very well there.
Well, that's the option that he brings. He's a very good offensive player. We know that. We know that he can be effective in the opposition's half, but also will be able to put in a defensive shift alongside Tonali. Tonali, we know, will anchor that midfield alongside Joe Linton and now Willock. But Willock will be the one who's got the athleticism to join in with Gordon higher up the field.
Has finished at the Amex as well. Brighton 0, Arsenal 1. So Arsenal continue on their merry way at the top end of the Premier League table, and Manchester City, unless something dramatic happens at the Etihad Stadium, will be dropping points. Newcastle 1, Manchester United 1, 5 Sports Extra 3, as Sandro Tonali stands over this free kick for Newcastle, just inside the Manchester United half, dinked with his right foot towards the edge of the Manchester United box. Elanga doesn't win his header, Willock to no one in particular. Šeško heads that away, Cunha can nod down to Mainu, and maybe Manchester United can build, but very quickly Willock is in there with the challenge. Tonali and Thiaw at close quarters, and Tonali skips away from Mainu. Now there's space in front of him, halfway through the Manchester United half, and that's not a great pass from him for a change. Mazraoui wins the ball back, and now Manchester United can break. It's with Cunha, who's approaching the edge of the Newcastle box. Left-hand side, Fernandes wanted it to feet, and Cunha played it in front of the Manchester United captain, and that's a rather tame end to what was a promising Manchester United attack.
For all they've got themselves back into the game, Manchester United, and you would expect them to be the dominant team in this second half, there's been no real fluidity to their play. Passes have been misplaced in the final third, misunderstanding there between Bruno Fernandes and Cunha. And at the early stages, the very early stages of this second half, you wouldn't know that Newcastle were down to 10 men.
It has finished at the Etihad Stadium. Manchester City 2, Nottingham Forest 2. So Arsenal have a 7-point gap at the top of the Premier League. Manchester City do have a game in hand, but it's looking very good for Arsenal, and that's another very big win for them on the South Coast, and that's a very disappointing result for Manchester City, but a very good one for Nottingham Forest, who would have taken a point all day long. And West Ham may have won the game against Fulham, but they are still in the relegation zone, although both Forest and West Ham are now level on 28 points, and Forest have a better goal difference by the margin of 4. So it's looking very, very interesting down at the bottom end of the table. We have played 6 minutes of the second half at St James's Park. Newcastle 1, Manchester United 1, and it's not been, I think, Paul, the start to the second half that we anticipated, because actually it's Newcastle that have had most of the ball, even though they've got one fewer man.
Well, they started the first half extremely well, Newcastle, and they've come out the second half, they've made that change. As I say, you wouldn't know that they were down to 10 men the way that they've started the game. They've dominated the possession. Manchester United, once again, the way they started the first half, they've sat off, they've sat deeply. Casemiro being the deepest line midfielder, trying to protect that back four. Actually, Newcastle's attacking threat is Gordon and Elanga, and to their credit, they've left those two players high up the field.
And they are still going for this Newcastle. It's leading to a very interesting watch. Willock to Trippier, and now Joel Linton with the right wristband on, finds Trippier, right-hand side of the penalty area. His low ball across, Tonali's touch, Gordon on the edge of the box, all a little bit too intricate. Gordon's left foot shot. Lamans, with a couple of steps to his left, makes what in the end is a very routine save and keeps the score at 1-1.
It's good from Newcastle. They're actually showing attacking intent. So often do we see teams lose a player and they'll drop off and they'll sit off and then allow the opposition to dominate possession, whereas Newcastle, they've left the two players high. And you can see what Eddie Howe's wanting to do. He's wanting to still go at Manchester United. He feels that there's something here for Newcastle, and the best way for them to do that is by playing on the front foot.
5 defeats in their last 6 Premier League matches. 3 straight defeats here at St James's Park, but the crowd will be with them. Here is Willock, runs into Maguire, who will be joining 5 Live very shortly. Thank you, Ali. What an interesting game we have witnessed here at St James's Park. 53 minutes old, Newcastle 1, Manchester United 1, a game that ignited courtesy of a red card for Jacob Ramsey, second yellow card for diving. Anthony Gordon converted a penalty they were given a few moments later, and then Casemiro's header, all in the space of 6 frenetic late first half minutes. And with 8 minutes of the second half elapsed, it is still Newcastle 1, Manchester United 1, but it's Newcastle very impressively, despite the one-man disadvantage, still on the front foot, and they've won a free kick dead centre of the Manchester United half. Casemiro fouls Joel Linton. There were 4 yellow cards given in the first half by Peter Banks, 2 of them to Jacob Ramsey. Joel Linton and Buemo and Shaw also in the book, and Paul Robinson watching on. This has been a very lively watch.
Well, it was a slow burner at the start. We predicted a lively contest, didn't we? But once this game got going, it's been an absolutely superb watch. It really has. We've had everything: yellow cards, red cards, penalties. It's been an intriguing watch. And as you say, Newcastle down to 10 men. They've come out in the second half. They've put Anthony Gordon and Elanga forward as a front two, which is pushing the Manchester United back four and Casemiro to that effect deeper. And actually, this early on in the second half, what are we, 10 minutes in? Newcastle with 10 men have been the dominant force.
They have, and now this free kick that Trippier will swing into the back post. There is a Manchester United player on the ground. It's Harry Maguire, and the referee immediately points for a Manchester United free kick.
Everything we've spoke about tonight, pre-game, the other games, in the studio, about the set plays, about the wrestling, about the fighting. The referee's given a free kick there on Harry Maguire. If that's the other way, he's not given a penalty. No. That's the frustration that we're having at the moment.
Peter Banks is the referee. Newcastle are in black and white with the black shorts and the black socks. They go from left to right towards the Gallowgate, and Manchester United also in their home strip, the red shirts, the white shorts and the white socks. They go from right to left, and they have the ball at the moment. Maguire backwards of square to Yoro, and now Mazraoui on that far side, the right. I'll run you through the two 11s when there is the first opportunity to do so. It is Mazraoui and Mbeumo who exchange passes far side the right, and this is the pattern that we expected in this second half. Manchester United with all of the ball. Fernandes to Mbeumo, Burn in the way of that before Mbeumo can turn, and now Joel Linton, who himself was rather fortunate not to be sent off. He was given a yellow card for shirt pulling, and then very unwisely, sarcastically applauded the referee. And it wasn't subtle, Paul Robinson, it was two arms above his head, applauding loudly, and luckily for him, Peter Banks wasn't watching.
Well, luckily for him, his teammate, Sandro Tonali, grabbed him by the scruff of the neck and pulled him away before the referee saw him.
Elanga making good progress for Newcastle, who are certainly not set up defensively despite their one-man disadvantage. It's Elanga, the former Manchester United player with the red boots. Far side the left, players just slowed down. Joel Linton gets his foot on the ball. Hall is level with the edge of the penalty area, left-hand side, and now in fact the play is all the way back with Burn inside the centre circle. Newcastle 5 defeats in their last 6 in the Premier League. Here's Willock on the right-hand side of the box, low ball in, Mainu in the way, Newcastle corner, and they may have been under pressure over the last few weeks, Newcastle, but the St James's Park faithful are right behind them tonight.
Very impressed with the attitude that Newcastle have come out with in this second half. Down to 10 men, you think they'd have two banks of 4 and sit in 2 defensive lines trying to hold out and stay in the game, whereas actually they're playing with 2 players high up the pitch. They're going at Manchester United. They started this game very, very well, Newcastle, and they've certainly started the second half very well. Manchester United, on the other hand, I'm really surprised. They look calm, they don't look stressed, they don't look like they're troubled by the way that Newcastle are playing, but they're offering very little than a defensive shape.
And now they have some defending to do. This corner in front of the Gallowgate. Kieran Trippier is over it, near side the right. Burn is pointing the way. He is comfortably the tallest player inside that penalty area. There's a line of Newcastle players right on the edge of the box. Trippier delays, now is ready. In comes the corner, back post. Joel Linton rises, doesn't really get contact on the header, and before Mbeumo can strike, it's cleared downfield. Hall forward directly towards Trippier, headed down by Willock. Maguire is there to boot out of play for a throw. Trippier thought about controlling it but elects to let it drop out of play, and Newcastle have a throw. And as we approach the hour mark, you would not think it's Newcastle playing with one fewer man.
No, they're going longer, they're playing a lot more direct, but they're playing effectively in the right areas. They're not taking any chances, they're not playing out from the back. The goalkeeper gets it, it goes long, it goes into an area, and they try and cause Manchester United problems.
Cunha heads the ball away. Tonali base of the centre circle, and Cunha will pick this up just inside the Manchester United half. Shadow for company as the floodlights shine brightly down. Cunha is then tripped by Trippier, and that will be a free kick to Manchester United right in front of the dugouts. Newcastle 1, Manchester United 1. 5 Live and BBC Sounds on what has been a big evening in the Premier League. Arsenal extending their gap at the top of the Premier League to 7 points, courtesy of that win over Brighton. Manchester City dropping points at home to Nottingham Forest. So 7 points the gap now to Manchester City, although Manchester City do have a game in hand. Big results at the bottom end of the Premier League as well, with Fulham losing to West Ham United 1-0. West Ham have won. Crescencio Somerville with a goal, and Chelsea with a commanding 4-1 win away at Villa Park. Villa continue to struggle. Shaw for Manchester United, who are readying Diogo Dalot, so there will be an early Manchester United change in this second half. Fernandes has it meanwhile. Now Cunha will go for goal. No, he won't. That was a dummy. Instead, try to find Mbeumo with an intricate pass that was a little too intricate. Newcastle clear, but only temporarily. In fact, a double change coming. Manuel Ugarte is ready. Fernandes, great ball around the corner. And Mbeumo try to square it to Šeško, and then his left-footed ball, and Mbeumo, after his initial cross was blocked, is rather harmlessly looped behind. Newcastle goal kick. It's 1-1 on 5 Live, and here come these two Manchester United changes with Diogo Dalot and Manuel Ugarte coming on. So Luke Shaw is the first player to be removed. Now Luke Shaw is one of those on a yellow card and had been struggling with illness, so he's off. And Diogo Dalot is on, and Casemiro is also coming off the field, and Manuel Ugarte, who hasn't had too much game time under Michael Carrick, is on in his place. So Paul, two like-for-like replacements for Manchester United.
We're just having a look to see if he's going to change the shape in any way, shape or form. Dalot's going across to the right back. Mazwari's coming over this side to left back. Ugarte looks like he's going to sit with Kobe Mainoo at the foot of the midfield, which allows Fernandes more time and space to get up with it in and around Šeško. Almost a front four for Manchester United, and Mbeumo out on the right, Fernandes in the middle, Cunha on this left, and Šeško, who's had very little to no service all game up front on his own.
He had a glimmer of a chance in the first half, a very sharp turn inside the penalty area, but his right foot shot was easily blocked, and apart from that, he's had very little service as Benjamin Šeško, the in-form Šeško. 7 goals in his last 8 Premier League appearances, the one time Newcastle United target, but they've done a very good job of keeping him quiet. Ramsdale is the Newcastle goalkeeper, Nick Pope on the bench, Trippier, Thiaw, Byrne and Hall the back four. Ramsey did start but has since been dismissed. Tonali, Elanga, Joelinton, Gordon and Willock, who was that half-time change for Harvey Barnes. And for Manchester United, Lamens is the goalkeeper, Mazraoui, Yoro, Maguire and now Dalot, with Ugarte and Mainoo, Mbeumo, Fernandes, Cunha and Šeško. And it is the red shirt slowly building far side the right. Fernandes early ball, and Mbeumo wasn't reading that. And that's comfortable for Aaron Ramsdale away to our left, and it remains Newcastle 1, Manchester United 1.
Once again, there's no kind of fluidity to the play of Manchester United. Yes, they are playing with 11 men. You would expect them to be in the ascendancy, but actually they've struggled to get into this game. You know, even in the first half when they got themselves back in, yes, it was through a set play. Their open play hasn't been great. There have been no real clear-cut opportunities. They've had 1 or 2 in the first half, but actually in the second half Newcastle have done really well. There's 2 sides to it. You've got to give Newcastle credit for the way that they've affected the game. It's not been pretty at times. They've gone long, they've gone direct, and they've caused Manchester United problems by playing that way, and they've struggled to deal with it. Manchester United have had very little attempts on goal, on Aaron Ramsdale's goal. From a Manchester United point of view, Aaron Ramsdale's been very underemployed in this second half.
Alan Shearer appears on our monitor, the Newcastle legend, so he clearly is not on the match of the day sofa tonight. 20-11 for all of tonight's highlights and yesterday's games as well. BBC One and the iPlayer. Ramsdale for Newcastle, and he'll go long looking for Trippier. Cunha is underneath this and will head out of play, and that's a Newcastle throw. Not just big games in the Premier League, a big one up in Scotland in the Scottish Premiership, Aberdeen Celtic. Kenny Crawford.
Yeah, Celtic had to make the most of this game in hand, and it's Aberdeen 1, Celtic 2 with 85 minutes on the clock. I'll go back to it if you want, Chris.
Elanga is tripped by Cunha right on the edge of the penalty area, just a couple of yards outside the box, and the Newcastle fans are desperate for a yellow card to be given here. I don't think Peter Banks is going to book Cunha, but Newcastle have this free kick, angle of the penalty area, but there will be a little bit of time before this is taken. In fact, the yellow card has been given to Cunha. So, Kenny, back to you, all yours.
Yeah, no worries. Maeda had a great chance for Celtic to try and kill the game off. That would have made it 3-1, but at the moment Celtic looked like they were going to close that gap to 5 points behind Hearts, which would be so important with 9 league games left after this. 5 minutes to go of normal time. Aberdeen 1, Celtic 2.
Thank you, Kenny. It was Nasser Mazraoui with the foul, and he is the latest name to be taken by Peter Banks. The list is growing, and this free kick, Paul, for Newcastle on the angle of the penalty area, right hand side.
Yeah, he's got the better of, got the wrong side of him, Elanga. He's been sharp tonight, Elanga. He's had a little impact this season. One of the criticisms of Newcastle, their new signings, not really hit the ground running. Visser left on the bench tonight. Elanga You know, the figures, the numbers aren't quite there, the statistics for him, but I think he's played reasonably well tonight, Elanga. He's been direct, and that time he got the wrong side of Mazraoui, and they got a free kick here. What is it, a yard off the point of the left-hand side of the 18-yard box?
And Sandro Tonali, the heavily tattooed Tonali, is over this to whip in with pace towards the back post. It goes an awfully long way and is touched wide by Gordon. Newcastle players are appealing for something, handball or a push.
They want handball. There's 3 or 4 of the Newcastle players that have got their arm in the air, touching their opposite hand in front of the referee's face. It's a lovely ball in from Tonali. Ball right across the edge of the Manchester United 18-yard box. Is it Dallo at the far post? It kind of runs down his body. His arms are by his side. I think that would be harsh if it was given. The referee has, as he's held the game, VAR are checking. It's a ball over the top. It's eluded everybody. I'm not so sure how much of it Diego Dallo saw of it at the far post, and it's kind of run down his arm from the top of his shoulder. Whether there was a lot of contact or not, we're not privy to too many replays at the moment.
We've not seen a single replay. Paul Tierney is poring over this down at Stockley Park, but he's poring over it no longer because that has been cleared. In fact, the moment it was announced to the crowd and the graphic appeared, the referee waved for the corner to be taken. So no handball on Kobbie Mainoo, who was at the back post defending. But there will be a Newcastle corner, and they've been threatening with these. Far side the left, Tonali's over this again. In it goes to the heart of the penalty area. Gordon round the back. And that's a big chance that he cannot take. No one tracking Anthony Gordon. Any touch goalwards, and that was probably 2-1 Newcastle United. But he couldn't quite steer it in the direction he wanted, and it remains 1-1.
What a chance. What a golden opportunity for Anthony Gordon at the far post. You do wonder if Newcastle will get a better chance in this second half. It's a wonderfully worked set play. Everyone to a man charges towards the near post. Anthony Gordon hangs out and he loops his run round to the far post. 3 or 4 yards out, the ball lands from Tonali on the half volley. He gets his foot in all wrong, Anthony Gordon. He takes a wild swing at the ball. I think it comes off his right shin and goes wide. Super chance.
And one you'd have expected Newcastle's top scorer, with 15 goals this season, got his 15th tonight from the penalty spot, straight down the middle with Lamans diving to his left. That's a really big chance for Newcastle, who are playing with terrific desire and great tempo that belies their recent form. 5 defeats in their last 6 in the Premier League, 3 defeats here at St James's Park. If they were to lose tonight, that would be the first time they'd lost 4 in a row at home since 2018. Uncharted waters at St James's Park, but they are playing well and holding Manchester United for now. But there is still plenty of time for that to change as we tick into the second half of the second half here on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. 1-1 between Newcastle and Manchester United, and it is Michael Carrick's Manchester United building very slowly at the moment, far side the right. Now the move progresses to this near side the left, where Cunha picks it up, angle of the box, thinks about crossing, goes short of Fernandez, orchestrator in chief for Manchester United. Cunha, no great pace to this attack. Mazraoui is close to him in the base layer and the gloves. Cunha away from Trippier and face palms him. That was almost like a Six Nations handoff. And Trippier goes to floor. Referee says that's a Newcastle free kick.
Yeah, he uses all his experience there, Kieran Trippier, because Cunha's done him. He's got round him, he's got the goal side of him. And Kieran Trippier, he just puts his body in a place where he knows that there's going to be some type of contact from Cunha. Very cleverly wins a free kick for his team. And once again, Aaron Ramsdale's in absolutely no rush whatsoever to take this free kick. They will go long again, Newcastle. It's been a clear tactic of the second half. Any goal kicks or any free kicks in and around their own goal line, it goes forward. The defensive line is on the halfway line. They've played long, they've played direct, but they've been very effective in what they've done.
Michael Carrick with his arms together, clasped behind his back. He has remained in that position for the majority of the game. Very little flustered him when he played, and seemingly very little flusters him as a manager, interim or not. And he's watching his side with a man advantage, but not able to take too much advantage of that so far. And most of their attacks have been fairly laboured. Mazraoui leading the latest one on this near side, the left for Manchester United. Harry Maguire, 33rd birthday tomorrow, through the halfway line, and finds Dallo on that far side. the Manchester United right, directly into the feet of Fernandes, looking to get on the ball at every given opportunity. There's space for Mazraoui, yet to score for Manchester United. He's on his right foot, and he didn't really threaten to score there. Newcastle temporarily clear, but now Manchester United are building some decent rhythm and some decent tempo. Fernandes, 35 yards out, centrally positioned. Now Dalot has space to shoot. Newcastle, I think, quite happy for the fullbacks to go for goal. And Mbeumo lifts it in. Šeško was rising, but too far in front of the striker. And now Mbeumo very nearly robs Joel Linton. In fact, he did, but the touch was so heavy, it goes behind for an Aaron Ramsdale goal kick, and it remains Newcastle 1, Manchester United 1. Back to Pittodrie, Kenny Crawford.
We're into the 92nd minute, so Aberdeen 1, Celtic 2. Aberdeen have got a corner as Celtic have to withstand a bit of pressure from the Dons. At the moment they're clearing it and holding on, as I say, trying to get 5 points behind Hearts at the top of that Premiership. Aberdeen 1, Celtic 2.
Thank you, Kenny. So closing stages at Pittodrie. We've got 20 minutes to play at St James's Park. 1-1 between Newcastle and Manchester United. Stays this way, Manchester United would go back up to third. Villa were temporarily above them until their heavy home defeat to Chelsea, who are now up to fifth, with 5 places likely to be back in the Champions League next season. That battle for the Champions League places looks very interesting, with Manchester United, Aston Villa, Chelsea, Liverpool separated by 4 points, and then the minor European places, Brentford, Everton, Bournemouth. It's looking like a very interesting end to the season at the top and at the bottom as well. And there is a big game to bring you tomorrow on BBC Radio 5 Live and BBC Sounds, rounding off this midweek round of fixtures. Tottenham Hotspur at home to Crystal Palace. Mainu fouled on halfway, and he wins Manchester United a free kick, and the red shirts can come forward again. Fernandes and Mazraoui exchange passes, and you just wonder, Paul, now as we enter the last 20 minutes, presumably there will be a point that Newcastle hit where they think, okay, now we're in self-preservation mode here. We don't want to go too gung-ho just in case we lose the game.
Yeah, at some point fatigue will set in, and you know Manchester United have sat off, allowed Newcastle the possession, but there is going to be a time where they will try and get something more from this game. And actually, when you look, they're quite comfortable, Manchester United. You look at the manager, you look at the body language and the demeanour of the players, they're quite comfortable in the shape that they're in. You know, they're going to keep working away at what they're doing, try and move the ball. For me, they need to do it quicker, they need to be more direct and move the ball quicker in the wider areas, try and get in and around this Newcastle defence. But when you look at Manchester United, 4 of the 6 wins have only been by 1 goal. So if that was to happen again tonight, that's nothing new. And actually, when you look at it, a draw for them tonight, yes, because of the way the game's panned out, a draw they probably want more, but a point here wouldn't be bad in the run that they're in.
Fernandes lifted towards the back post, cleared only as far as Mbeumo inside the box. It's Dalot, awkward angle, volleyed goalwards with no real conviction. Tonali was in the way of that, and Mazraoui, base of the centre circle, can keep Manchester United moving forward. 1-1 with Newcastle. Newcastle down to 10 men after Jacob Ramsey was shown 2 yellow cards, the second for diving. Here's Fernandes now, left-hand side of the box. His poked ball through, too far in front of Šeško, as the Newcastle jeers will tell you. But it's that sort of ingenuity you feel Manchester United will need if they're to break through.
Well, they've got a striker in Benjamin Šeško who's in real form at the moment, but he's a striker who needs service. You know, he'll occupy the width of the 18-yard box, he'll work extremely hard, and at the moment he's capitalising on the chances that he's got. But the service to him this evening he's been starved of service. There's been none. He had a half chance in the first half, which he had to create himself. But other than that, Manchester United have been slow in the build-up. Like I said, it's not been fluid, and the big striker hasn't had anything to feed off.
This is not the only game in the North East this evening. A big game at Gateshead in the National League, and they've beaten Braintree by 1-0. That'll be a well-attended fixture. Gateshead, one of the better supported sides at that level. And we know the North East is such a hotbed of football. Sunderland beating Leeds last night. Newcastle 1, Manchester United 1 here, as a sliding Burn challenge to stop the striding Ugarte, and Burn turns to the fans in the East Stand and the Lees' end. Massive cheer. This means a lot to Newcastle. They're up against it to win the game, but if they were to get a point, you feel the fans would be right behind them.
Really good challenge from Dan Burn in that far left-hand corner. He's conceded a corner, which Mbeumo will take, but it was a good tackle.
Right arm in the air, and Buemo delivers with his left foot. Byrne is there again in front of Ramsdale. Powerful header away. Mazraoui though to Fernandez on the edge. Dink to the back post. Yoro's header. Ramsdale makes a brilliant save. For all the world, it looked like Lenny Yoro was heading in for Manchester United, but Ramsdale low and makes a terrific save to keep Newcastle in the game. But it's coming straight back. Fernandez, cross blocked by Willock. Excellent chance, but an excellent save.
Well, here we go. You feel this may be left off for Manchester United in and around this time. They've just put the foot on the accelerator. It's a really well-taken corner. It's cleared only as far as Bruno Fernandes, who's on the edge of the 18-yard box, and he caresses that ball into the far post to Lenny Yoro. He does everything right apart from head it far enough away from Aaron Ramsdale. He heads it hard and low down into the ground, and Ramsdale on the half volley palms it away with a right hand. Super save from the Newcastle goalkeeper.
In for Nick Pope, dropped to the bench after his error against Everton on Saturday, and he's made a great save there, Ramsdale. But Manchester United beginning to create. It's Mbuemo on the edge, right hand side. Every single Newcastle player back defending. Fernandez to Mbuemo, still on the edge of the penalty area. Fernandez lifts it in, Ugarte heads goalwards and over. Roof of the net. It looked for a moment that was dropping under Ramsdale's crossbar, but Ugarte's header lacked the power and lacked the direction, and it's safely over for a goal kick as Manchester United prepare a double change. Ahmad and Zirkzee are both coming on, and we'll tell you who's coming off after we hear from Kenny Crawford. Full time with you, Kenny.
Full time at Pittodrie. Aberdeen 1, Celtic 2. Chris, it's priceless if you can have a player in your team who has that knack of being in the right place at the right time. For Celtic, it's Benjamin Nygren. He's been that player repeatedly this season. His 19th of the campaign tonight was the winner. Earlier, Tierney had put Celtic ahead before Nisbet equalised for the Dons from the spot. So Celtic now second in the league, 1 point ahead of Rangers, 5 behind Hearts, 9 games left in the league. Full time, Aberdeen 1, Celtic 2.
Thank you, Kenny. Yeah, we're getting to that stage of the season where every result carries some extra significance. So a couple of things have occurred here at St James's Park. Firstly, Aaron Ramsdale is receiving treatment. Now,
I wonder why.
Now
I wonder why.
Is for all the talk of skirmishes from corners, this seems to be the other element of football that is up for debate, and that's the goalkeeper receiving treatment to allow a mini team talk, which both head coaches are taking advantage of.
We've got a timeout. It's like a timeout in basketball. Imagine when the coach calls a timeout. Goalkeeper goes to ground there, and immediately the two managers swing straight into action. They both know exactly what's going on. Eddie Howe gets all his players in and around him. Michael Carrick spots it as well. 15 minutes left. Both managers get an opportunity to get the final message on.
That's got to change, hasn't it? There has to be something in to
Don't know how you do it.
That.
Don't know how you do it. How do you prove that he's not injured? It's difficult ground.
The other thing to tell you is Manchester United have made 2 changes. Ahmad and Joshua Zirkzee are on. Kobe Mainoo is off, and so too Brian Mbuemo, which feels a little surprising with 13 minutes to play. One of Manchester United's more promising attacking players.
The only way you could possibly change it is the best thing that I've heard that I kind of half agree with. If the goalkeeper does go down, then another one of the outfield players has got to go off for 30 seconds. That may change it, but still, some managers might sacrifice an outfield player for 30 seconds just for that precious piece of information they need to get on.
Willock for Newcastle, 1-1 with Manchester United. The 10 men of Newcastle. Dalot fouls Willock very close to the corner flag on the left of the penalty area. Dalot pleads his innocence to Peter Banks in his yellow shirt, and he's certainly issued a lot of yellow cards tonight, Peter Banks, but he is not about to book Diogo Dalot for that. But Newcastle have another dangerous set piece, and it's these sort of situations, if Newcastle harbour ambitions of winning the game, they have to take advantage of.
Do you know what? They've struggled at home this season, Newcastle. We spoke about it before the game. They're 12th in the home form table before this round of fixtures. But actually what Eddie Howe's got from his team today, the attitude and application in this second half, it almost galvanised them the end of the first half when they went down to 10 men. They've come out with 10 men, they've gone longer, they've been more direct. They've not tried to outplay Manchester United, they've not tried anything that's intricate in and around the edge of the box, but they've played effective football and they've affected the way that Manchester United wanted to play.
The Gallagher mostly on their feet as they watch. They would love this to go in with 11 minutes to play at St James's Park. BBC Radio 5 Live. Tonali's over this free kick, 2 yards in from the touchline, left-hand side. Byrne lurks, Thiaw there too. Tonali's free kick is towards Thiaw. Lamans with an excellent punch. We know he's proficient at that, based on his exploits against Everton recently. Hall gives it away loosely, and now Zirkzee can come forward, his first involvement in the game. Cunha away from Trippier, who is fouling Cunha, and Trippier is furious at Mateus Cunha, but it will be a yellow card for the Newcastle United captain, and Trippier is making his feelings very clear to both referee and to Cunha. He feels that's a little cheap.
The way the referee's been throwing his cards around, Kieran Trippier's lucky that he didn't pick one up earlier for a foul on Mbeumo earlier on in the game, but he's still chirping away at Cunha. He feels that Cunha went over him too easily. Looking at the replay, I mean, it was right in front of us down here where the dugouts are. We're sat very close to pitch side, right behind the managers, and it was a clear trip from Trippier.
And Manchester United can build once more with Yoro, long hair bouncing. On that right-hand side is Ahmad, who had a spell on loan at Sunderland, a very successful loan spell. Dalot right-hand side towards Ahmad. Gordon is in the way, having to work very hard defensively. Dalot looked like he was fouling Gordon. That's what he wants, facing one of his own corner flags, and in the end the assistant referee on that far side gives the decision Newcastle United's way, and that all felt rather inevitable. Gordon feels the contact, and Newcastle have this free kick. Left-back position, and they have 10 minutes to hold out.
Once again, Anthony Gordon is facing his own goal. He's going nowhere. There's no need for any real contact there. It's Dalot initially, grabs hold of his shirt. Ahmad goes in, nicks the ball off him, and it's the assistant on the far side. There's not a lot really in it. Pointless foul from Manchester United. Gives possession back to Newcastle.
And they are beginning to take as much time out of the game as they can possibly get away with minutes ticking away. Newcastle 1, Manchester United 1. Both goals at the end of a frantic first half. Jacob Ramsey sent off for 2 yellow cards, the second for diving. Gordon then won a penalty, going over Fernandez' trailing leg, scored the penalty, but just moments later Casemiro heading in a Fernandez free kick for 1-1. No further goals. The black and white shirts coming forward again as they go from left to right as we watch from the Milburn stand. Manchester United have it in their back line, and as I glance towards the Gallagher Paul, we can see a bright moon has appeared. It's been a beautiful day in the northeast, the sun shining, blue skies, and the clear skies remain. It's been nippy and chilly, and what looks like a full moon has appeared, or it might be a waxing gibbous of some description. John Murray would know. Here's Gordon over halfway, well challenged by Ahmad, and now Manchester United can come forward again. Ahmad right hand side of the centre circle. Fernandez always looking, and finds Cunha near side the left, approaching the edge of the Newcastle box, still going onto his right foot. Fernandez arriving late, tries to bend it towards the far corner, and he didn't quite get it right. Started it a bit too wide. He was running out of room rapidly. He was being closed down so swiftly, and his right foot shot in the end is a couple of yards wide.
Looks like he's been in one of his frustrated moods tonight, Bruno Fernandes. Whatever he's tried, it's not really worked for him. 1 or 2 opportunities on goal from distance, not managed to hit the target. That time again down the left-hand side, it was Cunha did really well. Cut the ball back to Fernandes on the edge of the box. I think he's just trying to be too cute with it, maybe trying to be too clever with the inside of his right foot. And instead of getting the bend that would have brought it inside the post, he stiffs it outside the right post.
Jacob Murphy is about to come on for Newcastle as Eddie Howe looks to see out the final 7 and a bit minutes of this game. 1-1 between Newcastle and Manchester United. Newcastle, who have lost the last 3 here at St James's Park in the Premier League. This would feel quite a significant result. They might not win the game if they can hold out, but they wouldn't lose it. And bear in mind their predicament, playing all of the second half with 10 men. It would feel quite a big result for Newcastle. The fans have stuck with them right through, and they have 7 minutes to hold out. Manchester United continue to come forward. It's Zirkzee's ball across goal, just too far ahead of Ahmad, who is lurking at the back post. It won't go out of play. Ugarte will pick this up. And now Yoro, backwards of square. Fernandez, stationary, centrally positioned. To the back post, Cunha arrives. Trippier there, still alive for Manchester United until Trippier plays it against Cunha. And that's out of play for a Newcastle goal kick, despite Mateus Cunha looking accusingly at the referee. He didn't agree with that, but goal kick is the decision, and this Newcastle United change sees Jacob Murphy coming on and Anthony Elanga making way.
He's played well today, Anthony Elanga. He's been criticised for his time here at Newcastle, his lack of productivity, but I think today in the position that he's played in the second half, he's put in a real shift. He's used his pace, he's used his power, and he's been an attacking threat. The two attacking players are now both been withdrawn by Eddie Howe. Started the second half with 10 men. Anthony Gordon and Elanga, who went brave, he played them both high up the pitch, and they both worked extremely hard with and without the ball, as you can hear the reception that both players are getting.
It has been one of those performances that Newcastle have had to work so hard for. The effort and the consensus, speaking to Newcastle fans prior to this game, was that the effort had been there for large parts of this season. The results just haven't gone their way for one reason or another. Will Osula is on to replace Anthony Gordon, the young Danish striker. Manchester United also making a change. Nazem Masraoui is limping rather heavily as he comes off, and Tyrell Malacia comes on for only his second appearance this season, the lesser spotted Tyrell Malacia, and his only other appearance came against Newcastle on Boxing Day, a game that Manchester United won by 1-0, a game that Ruben Amorim went to a back four for, but that didn't last long. They might have won the game, but it was soon back to the back five. So Malacia on for Masraoui to play the final now. 4 minutes at St James's Park. Are we to find a winner on BBC Radio 5 Live, BBC Sounds? Trippier, lovely control, near side the right. Now coming in field, the overlapping Murphy, first involved for him is to take it dangerously close to the byline. Did he run it out of play? Yes, he did. And that may be a touch of someone who's only just been introduced.
Good piece of play by Newcastle, though. They've still been brave. They've been very brave in possession. They've committed players forward. It's not the second half where they've looked to just hold on. Manchester United have struggled with them without really creating much, I must say. Talk about Newcastle doing well and been effective in this second half. When you think of Senna Lammens in the Manchester United goal, we've hardly mentioned him. He's been very, very underemployed from a shot-saving point of view. He's had to be alert because the action's been down at his end, but actually good chances have been few and far between.
Cunha, early ball into the Newcastle penalty area. Maybe Manchester United will start looking a little more direct as the seconds tick away. Šeško, who has had very little to go off tonight, Benjamin Šeško, closing down Thiaw. Newcastle cleared downfield, and Manchester United have a throw near side the left. Maguire races to a fluorescent yellow cone to pick up the white football and get Manchester United going again. And it is with Ugarte, with his two shadows for company, roaming over halfway. Joe Linton is in front of him, and Yoro now picks up the ball far side the right, 8, 9, 10 yards in from the touchline. Manchester United still building very predictably through the thirds. Yoro creeping towards the edge of the penalty area. Newcastle fans right behind their side as they try and cheer their side on to what would be a very good point. 3 minutes to see out. Maguire, lovely ball through a third. Xerxes touch instant. Into the box he goes. Onto his left foot. Back onto his right. No shot coming. Šeško blocked at source. Penalty spot area. Fernandez, cushion volley. Cunha, left-hand side of the penalty area. Give and go with Xerxes. At least that was the plan. Excellent defending Trippier, who also read the plan and gets in front of his man and clears for Newcastle. Osula in front of Fernandez, but not for long. And it's coming straight back at Newcastle again. These are pivotal moments in this game. Dalot challenged by Hall. Every Newcastle challenge being loudly cheered. Ahmad picks up the pieces. Into the box. Fernandez back to goal. Ugarte's on the edge. Right foot shot blocked by Tonali. And it's drifts out of play for... Oh, it would have been a corner, but Joel Linton does ever so well to get his body in between Dalot and the ball, and Hall will boot it downfield to comparative safety.
Preservation mode for Newcastle now, very, very deep and hanging on. It's all Manchester United. They're pushing, they're trying to get that winner. They're exerting the dominance that they've got with the extra man.
2 minutes to play. Xerxes goes for goal, and Ramsdale makes a brilliant save. Joshua Xerxes from a long way out, nothing much on, a brilliantly hit right foot shot, and Ramsdale at full stretch. It's a brilliant save with his left hand to keep the score at 1-1.
That's as good as Jordan Pickford's save. The Everton goal, the Everton save what he made. Well, that is a brilliant save from Aaron Ramsdale. Xerxes hits it just outside the box. It's almost a knuckleball. He's got whip, he's got dip, he's got pace. It's behind the Newcastle goalkeeper. He flies high up into his left-hand corner, top left-hand corner. Brilliant save.
Now a corner to defend into the front post. Hall heads away. Willock will get there in front of Ugarte, but there is no one up front for Newcastle United. They have everyone back looking to defend. That'll help their cause, because the pass forward by Malacia was not well hit, and that's out of play for a Newcastle throw in their left back position. And Aaron Ramsdale in the side tonight for Nick Pope has made 2 excellent saves in this second half, from the Euro header and from that Xerxes drive.
That's the best of the 2. I mean, that was a brilliant save, because it looked like it was just going to dip under the crossbar at the last. It's a really difficult ball for the goalkeeper to read. When Xerxes hit it, looked like it was going over the bar, but it had so much dip on it.
And now suddenly Newcastle bursting forward. Osula on the right of the penalty area, running at Malacia into the box. He goes for goal with his left foot and scores remarkably. What a sensational end for Newcastle United in front of the Gallagher. How big a goal could that be for Newcastle United? And it is the young substitute that could have won the game for Eddie Howe's side. A left foot shot into the corner. Lamons didn't move, and St James's Park is euphoric. Newcastle 2, Manchester United 1.
Listen to that noise. The roof has just come off St James's Park. The noise inside this stadium is phenomenal. They've worked so hard. They've stuck at their task, Newcastle. They've been defensively resilient, and Asuli there epitomises what they've been about in this second half. He chases a lost cause down on this near touchline. The ball looked like it was going out for a throw-in. He keeps it in, and he doesn't just want to run to the corner. He charges into the Manchester United 18-yard box, cuts inside on his left foot. Malacia doesn't get close enough. Maguire doesn't get close enough. He says, OK then, I'll have a go. And he bends it around Lamons inside the far right-hand post. It's a super individual goal, it really is.
What a moment. What a brilliant moment for Will Osula. He might not have a better moment than that in a Newcastle United shirt. Scoring in front of the Gallagher, scoring so brilliantly in front of the Gallagher. Honours a sub, I'm sure, for energy, maybe to see the game out, but he has just scored what could be the winner for a Newcastle United side in desperate need of a lift, and that has given them a huge lift. 5 minutes of added on time were indicated in the midst of all that, and suddenly Manchester United are going from finding a winner to finding an equaliser to preserve Michael Carrick's unbeaten record. And that unbeaten record is in severe jeopardy now, with Newcastle United 2-1 up on 5 Live and BBC Sounds, with 3 minutes of stoppage time to play, albeit I think we'll be playing a lot longer than that, as Joel Linton thumps it out of play. Manchester United throw in their left-back position.
Oh, kicking for touch in the far corner. Well, that was absolute bedlam, and it still hasn't settled down. We've got 2 footballs on the pitch. The Newcastle fans all on the feet, the noise inside the stadium. I mean, that was a goal good enough to win any football match. What a brilliant individual goal. But Manchester United are still pressing. They're not giving this up just yet.
Fernandez long into the penalty area, headed away. Joel Linton then gets something on the ball. Yoro has to go all the way back to Lamons, who had no chance. And you always know when a strike is so accurately hit. The goalkeeper did not move. Xerxes, though, his ball to the back post. Trippier has to deal with it. Maguire across goal, off Trippier, and then off Maguire. And out of play for a Newcastle United goal kick. And every goal kick, every challenge won, greeted by huge, huge roars. And Newcastle now 3 minutes away from what feels, Paul Robinson, a huge result in the context of their season.
I've seen goals this season in the Premier League celebrated less than what the Newcastle fans just celebrated that goal kick. I mean, it's incredible, passionate support inside this stadium, and this is a really special result if they are to hold on. They've put in a real performance here with 10 men. They've been brave in the second half. They've played with the 2 attacking players. They've gone at Manchester United. It's not been pretty at times. They've gone long. They've played in the right areas. But listen to the noise inside here. But by the way, for all the quality of the goal, Aaron Ramsdale saved 2 minutes earlier.
Absolutely. Listen to the noise at St James's Park. This ground in the Premier League has not heard a noise like this for a long, long time. But there is still work to do. Fernandes for Manchester United. Long, they have to go long now. Maguire, so often the focal point in times like this for Manchester United. Murphy clears downfield. Michael Carrick, who'll know all about the noise here at St James's Park, his boyhood club, team he supported since he was a boy. But he's watching his Manchester United side on the verge of losing, and so with it, his unbeaten start as Manchester United interim manager. But still we play. Dallow on the right of the Newcastle box. His left-footed ball into the back post. Maguire heads across goal, but he won the header because he pushed his man. Trippier on the floor, and it's a Newcastle United free kick. We have 30 seconds of additional time to play, but I fancy we'll probably be going to 97, maybe 98, because the goal came in stoppage time and it took a good 2 or 3 minutes to restart.
Joe Linton's got his arms above his head again, but this time he's playing conductor to the orchestra. Listen at that noise. He wants more from the Newcastle fans. They've been incredible here this evening. They know what effort that their team have given them. Down to 10 men. They've stuck to the battle. They've had a plan in this second half. And at the moment, Manchester United don't seem to have had an answer. We've got Harry Maguire up there with Benjamin Sk. It's that time in the game. Maguire is centre forward.
Well, if Joe Linton is conducting, then his orchestra is responding. Although Manchester United still have time. Tonali is not fouled by Malacia, and Manchester United maybe still have time. Cunha, we've played over the 5 minutes, so now we are waiting for Peter Banks to see how much he will add on at the end of this game. 2-1 Newcastle lead. The winner that looks like the winner coming in stoppage time, and a fine moment for Will Osula. Another cross is cleared by Newcastle. The fans are desperate for the full-time whistle, but we will not have the full-time whistle because Newcastle are preparing a change, and actually Tonali needs some treatment as well. So Sven Botman is going to come on to shore up the Newcastle back line and act as a very handy time waster for Newcastle, and Tonali's receiving some treatment.
He will guarantee you that he will be a man mark of Harry Maguire, because Harry Maguire is just lurking around the 18-yard box. Everything's going along towards Harry Maguire. It is Tonali that's going to come off, and Botman will run on and he will go and stand right next to Harry Maguire. You can guarantee that that will be the plan between now and the end of the game for Newcastle. Listen, we're well over the added time now, but what a game this has been this evening. We didn't want the half-time whistle to go. I mean, the Newcastle fans are now absolutely desperate for the full-time whistle, but it's been a brilliant spectacle. Another fantastic advert for the Premier League.
It was an incredible end to the first half, with the Ramsey sending off, the Gordon penalty and the Casemiro header to equalise. It's a frantic end to the second half as well, with the Will Osula strike. Tonali is off, gets a huge high five from both Eddie Howe and Jason Tindall. Graham Jones is there as well in his blue jacket, and Sven Botman is on. The whistles from the Newcastle fans. Throw taken, Fernandes, central position, lifted to the back post, Byrne heads it away. It was towards Maguire. Willock will pick up the loose ball, Fernandes fouls Willock, and that'll be a free kick to Newcastle. And that cheer was almost as loud as the cheer for the Osula goal, because it's more vital seconds taken out of the game.
That sums his evening up tonight. Bruno Fernandes, he was left one-on-one at the back there. He had no option. He got round him. Joe Willock was looking like he was going to run the clock down for Newcastle. Fernandes fouls him halfway inside the Newcastle half. Aaron Ramsdale slowly walk up to the ball to take the free kick. You can guarantee that this is going to be Johnny Wilkinson style, high and into the corner looking for touch.
It'll be the big Gary Owen. St James's Park, raucous and roaring and relieved. 5 defeats in the last 6 in the Premier League. 3 straight defeats at home, but so close to ending, and ending in such dramatic circumstances against one of the big sides in the Premier League. The whistles continue to rain down. The play continues. Maguire plays it strangely behind Yoro. Whistle to the lips. Newcastle win. We have not said that very often. And Newcastle win, courtesy of one of the great Premier League moments for Will Osula. The young Danish substitute off the bench to curl superbly into the back of the net to give 10 men Newcastle a famous win over Manchester United. It's their 4th consecutive win over Manchester United at St James's Park, but given the context, given the poor form, given the desperate need for a lift in these parts, and the Jacob Ramsey sending off, this feels arguably the biggest of the lot. And for Manchester United, Michael Carrick's unbeaten run as interim manager is over. Newcastle 2, Manchester United 1. A terrific game of football, Paul Robinson.
Where on earth do you start with that? I mean, where do you even go? In fact, just go and watch Match of the Day. There you go. There's the easiest piece of analysis for you all season. What a fantastic game of football. It had everything. Both sides will feel hard done to with yellow cards, with sending-offs, with refereeing decisions. I mean, we've had goals. It's just been a brilliant watch, and I think Newcastle deserves so much credit for the way that they approached the second half with 10 men. Thoroughly expected them to come out, sit in a low block, try and hold on to the point that they had at the time. We went in at half-time 1-1, and you thought that Newcastle would come out and just sit deep, try and hold on and play out as much time as they possibly could. When actually Eddie Howe came out and he put Anthony Elanga and Anthony Gordon high up as a front two. They went long, they put bodies forward when they could, and at times, for the majority of the opening half of the second half, if you like, they were the better team. I mean, Manchester United slowly got a foothold in the game. They weren't at their fluid best tonight, Manchester United. You know, they looked a bit clunky at times, passes were going astray, maybe lacked a little bit of quality in the final third. Things weren't quite coming off for them. But the goal from Will Osula, that summed up Newcastle this evening. He chased the lost cause. It looked like it was going for a throw-in on this near touch line. It looked like it was harmlessly running out of play. And at that point, late in the game, you could understand Newcastle not chasing it, just staying in the game, keeping a draw. But he ran, he sprinted after the ball, he kept it in. Not only did he keep it in, he didn't go to the corner, he ran into the 18-yard box, unleashed a brilliant finish. I mean, it was a superb scene here in St James's Park after the goal went in. But let's not forget the contribution that Aaron Ramsdale made to that, because the save that he made before that from Joshua Zirkzee is one of the saves of the season. A really good all-round performance from Newcastle.
And their players leading a lap of appreciation around St James's Park. Will Osula has a massive grin on his face. That's a grin that'll be on his face for a long, long time. A moment he will never forget, scoring in front of the Gallagher to give Newcastle United a brilliant win over Manchester United, and it ends what has been a dismal period for Newcastle United. And with some huge fixtures coming up for Eddie Howe's side, it may just be the springboard they need to end the season successfully. A brilliant game of football at St James's Park. It has finished Newcastle United 2, Manchester United 1.
Listening to live football, live sport on the radio is the best. St James's Park coming to life on 5 Live and BBC Sounds this evening. And do you know what, Paul? So some of the quality of football over the last couple of nights in the Premier League has been questionable in a fair few games. I've not watched a classic game here between Arsenal and Brighton at the Amex Stadium, but the last 15 minutes at Molineux last night and your game, but the closing stages of that tonight, the Ramsdale save and the Osula goal, those are moments that are going to stay with the Newcastle fans, not just for this season, but for a long time.
Premier League memories, the incidents in the game, the scenes in the stands. You know what it's like here. Our listeners who've been to St James's Park, you know the noise. It was absolute bedlam, it really was. Nobody left their seat any time before the final whistle. There was nobody going anywhere. The game was so finely poised. Manchester United, they weren't at the best, but they still had a threat with the 11 players on the pitch. Newcastle, I'll repeat myself again, the way that they approached the second half, the forward thinking that they had, they didn't come out for the draw. They came out to cause Manchester United problems, and they certainly did that. And again, what a brilliant advert for the Premier League, it really is. And at times you think, you know, don't go toe-to-toe with a team that might be better than you, or don't go toe-to-toe with a team that have got 11 players on the pitch. Find a way, be effective, affect the way that you're playing yourself, but also find a way of affecting the opponent, and don't allow them to play the game they wanted to do. And Newcastle did both.
Well, you can hear the Newcastle fans enjoying their night. 10-man Newcastle. Jacob Ramsey sent off late in the first half, have beaten Manchester United by 2-1. In terms of their Premier League position for Newcastle, still in the bottom half of the table on 39 points. 1 point behind Sunderland, of course. That is a big deal. Manchester United stay on 51, level on points with Aston Villa. So we'll be with you for the next 10-15 minutes or so, bringing you all the reaction. So many stories in the Premier League to get into here as well. England goalkeeper Paul Robinson is with us. He's been on commentary duty at St James's Park, as you've been hearing, and we'll come back to that match again in just a little bit. But we've got to talk about Manchester City dropping points in the title race at home tonight, first of all, drawing 2-2 against Nottingham Forest. And with Arsenal beating Brighton 1-0 here, Arsenal extend their lead at the top of the Premier League table to 7 points. Manchester City have the game in hand. Arsenal have 8 to play. Manchester City have 9 to play. So let's hear from the City boss, Pep Guardiola, who's been talking to Jonathan Pearce.
Astonishing game, really. You had so much possession, you dominated the game, and yet you come away with just a point.
Yeah, and the chances, have the 2 goals and in one corner at the end. Yeah, we did everything. We could do a little bit better, but yeah, it's what it is.
What could you have done better?
Score goals.
And defensively, it shows you that this league, you can dominate for long periods of a game, but this league is unforgiving. You switch off twice and teams can punish you.
Yes, but I like when we concede few. Of course, you have to maybe do it better, but it's not about to analyze one specific action, I never point fingers for my players. They did everything. We had the chances at the end, even in the first half, and the momentums, and something that always happen. And